Hey everybody, welcome to episode 14 of Around the Basket, your Patreon only special, unless you're watching this on a weekend when the Patreon episodes get released. But if you want to watch live, go ahead, head over to our Patreon, join as a free member, and you'll see the link to watch us live. So hopefully people are doing that right now, Jeremy.
Yeah.
I should say,
Okay.
welcome to Jeremy. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Excited for another Around the Basket. One of our favorite guests, one of our people that we love seeing out on the course and chatting with is going to join us tonight. So We'll get
Absolutely.
to that for sure.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, you keep talking.
Okay. And well, I guess what I should say is anybody who's checking things out should go back to our last episode, which was with Brendan McKinstry, where we had a great conversation with an owner of a disc golf store talking about what does it take for a brick and mortar store to be successful in Canada. Is that something that can happen? And if so, how does it happen? So that was a great conversation we had. And you can't tell us that if you're a disc golfer, that idea hasn't crossed your mind. You know what? I should open up a disc golf store. I know exactly what I would do. So we had a good conversation about that at that point. So that was awesome. And I think the last time, we heard that we now have 17 Patreon members.
We do.
And I think we were sitting at 346 YouTube subscribers.
Yeah.
So
numbers just keep going up.
Yeah. Keep spreading the word. Tell your peeps about it. Get them to subscribe. We're giving away a great prize pack at $350 with a bag, discs, a new goat towel, birdie beads, custom
Stickers.
wooden chain out mini. We got a ton of stuff, so we'll be getting ready to do that. And if you are tuning in on Patreon and you're part of the chat, put your comments, put your questions in there. This is part of being live and being about on the Patreon, is we want to be interactive with you and get your thoughts and include them in our conversation. So that's kind of that bonus. So if you're watching this on the weekend, that's a way you can be part of the show.
I would just like to say,
Drum roll.
we're now up to 347.
347. That's awesome. Amazing. So 3 subscribers away.
Yeah.
Well, Daryl, this week we are joined by one of those wonderful people who we can proudly say is a multi-episode guest. We don't have a lot of them, but this is one of them. And if they're in that category, you know what? That's someone we enjoy talking to.
Must be.
Yeah. So let's welcome Kristin Swirles to Around the Basket.
Give me a second here because I was doing something else, Jeremy.
That's our technical genius.
There you go. Working on it. Hey, Kristin, how are you?
I'm doing good. I hope I kind of got blurry now. Can you still hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah.
I'm kind of doing something here.
No, something happened. Did I?
Oh, you don't have to worry too much. We have our technical
so
genius on the case. He's getting it all figured out for us.
Well,
here.
I'm wondering if it's my connection.
Are you on Wi-Fi or are you hardwired?
I'm on Wi-Fi, but our Wi-Fi is normally really good. Like I don't really have issues with it ever.
Right.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
Am
You
I
can
better now?
try and call back in
I
if you
better
like.
now?
And
Yeah, you're better.
And we are live and out there. Are we too, Daryl?
Oh yeah, of course we're live.
We're live. All right.
Yeah,
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, just tell me if it gets to be too scratchy, and then I can try to log back in. Okay. Hi.
Hi. It's like a fresh start right there. How's it going, Kristin? Are you doing well tonight?
Good. I was worried about my Wi-Fi, but I'm doing well. I have a really big week this week happening, which is part of why I decided to not make the trip all the way down. So
That's totally understandable.
Yeah, but I'm doing really well. Are you guys doing well?
Yeah, doing good. And you know what was exciting, I think, for me a little bit, Kristin, was I've been doing some off-season training, trying to keep myself in shape, get myself ready to go. So Tundra Toss was my first test because that was the first day where I was going to play 2 rounds in a row in one day in a while at a competitive level. And I was worried about, would my body hold up? How is it going to be? And I can happily say that I was not that sore afterwards. And when I woke up the next morning, I was feeling pretty good. So I think, hey, what could I ask for otherwise?
That's really good. I heard from one of your competitors, another MA40 friend who was very sore the next day.
Oh no.
I was like medium sore. I agree with you. It was like 2 rounds in a day. When is the last time we've done this? Plus the trudging in the snow, like that really works so many different muscles that you're not used to. And to like just trudge around in the snow for like 8 hours was tough.
Yeah. And it's a double-edged sword because you want to have the nice weather. It was a gorgeous day, way better than last year. But the problem is then when the sun starts smelting that snow, you get that wet, thick, heavy snow. And trying to, like you say, trudge your boots and lift your legs up and trying to walk through that for 2 rounds. And Rundle's is not a flat course by any means. It's got some elevation to it, so it's going to take it out of your body.
I was sore the next day. I'm very impressed that you were not, Jeremy, but maybe you weren't working hard enough.
Ouch. You know what? The truth hurts sometimes, and that could have been the case. My score would reflect that maybe I could have worked a little harder.
Let's have a look here. Your score reflects that. The fact that you weren't sore the next day. I think all the clues point to you didn't try hard enough.
Well, it is a long season. I'm just pacing myself.
Oh my gosh.
That's awesome.
So aside from being medium sore, how did the tournament go for you? What was it like from your side?
Honestly, it's honestly been, I was so proud and happy the next day with myself.
Yeah.
More so than any other tournament that I've played in recent memory, because I didn't have anything that I was like disappointed in myself. Or I shouldn't say that. I did have some things that I'm like, oh, geez, I wish I could have done this, this, and this, like you always do. But for some reason, the weight of that was not heavy on me the way that it normally is. Like I really just felt so happy with my play. And I feel like I might be turning a page in my competitive play. I think I'm going to start leveling up into a next, we constantly do.
Yeah.
I think that's an indication that my mental game has like hit another checkbox. I hope maybe it's too early to say, but I felt really good. I do have to say that one thing that I am disappointed in, but I'm not letting it weigh on me. I had to give myself a 2-stroke penalty.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. I was actually in there and I was really impressed by you coming in and doing that. And Daryl was as well. So tell us what happened.
Yeah. I didn't hear the story. I just heard you were talking to Brock about it. So fill us in. What happened?
Well, I mean, I sort of blame Brock.
That's fair.
No, I mean, lightheartedly, like obviously it's the competitor's job to know. So paths and sidewalks were OB, which was announced in the player meeting. And I did read the caddy book the day before. I read through it. And I mean, when I say read through it, like I skimmed through it because it's Rundle and we all know. And when I started seeing all of the usual OBs, I was like, oh, okay, like it's all the regular Rundle OBs. And I skimmed every page and I saw hole 17 had the line on the path and OB, okay, good. Hole 18, okay, line on the path. So I was like, it's all the regular OBs. Hole 17 and hole 18 in the caddy book, the path is marked and the font is there the same way it is for the other OBs, but it says path and beyond, not OB, and not this underline. So what happened is on hole 18, I went OB over the path on my second shot, or what I thought was OB, and my disc was laying up there on the path. And so I like trudged on over and I'm like, okay, I'm OB and like, here's where I think I went out. What do you guys think? Like, good. Like, I didn't even really give it a chance for discussion. I was just like, I'm OB. And everyone, it wasn't a discussion in the group because it was just like, I'm OB. And I said it was, and Zoe was so sweet. Zoe was even like, oh, like, are you sure? Not because of the caddy book, but she's like, maybe it's leaning against the edge and it's kind of inbounds. I'm like, no. I was like, thanks, Zoe, but it's not. It's OB. Trust me. It's OB. So whatever. I played it OB and I took the extra stroke penalty for the OB. And then we went to hole 19 and finished that. And then we submitted our scores. And then I was recapping my round with Tim over lunch, and I told him about my OB, and he was like, "Well, 18 doesn't have OB. It says not OB."
Right.
And he only knew that because someone on his card also went in the OB area on 18, and they were like, "No, it's not OB." And they pulled out the caddy book,
right,
and saw that it was not OB.
That's interesting, because we have a little bit of inside knowledge here, because Brock is in the chat and he says he copied the same OBs from last year, so he's passing the buck to Tim. So if he's saying that Tim didn't know that it was, or he should have known, because if that's what it was last year, Brock said
okay, but maybe he copied and pasted. Okay, but so Tundra taught. Okay, Tim needs to get in the chat too.
Yeah.
Tundra Toss in last year, correct me if I'm wrong, there was no paths were OB. Only road was OB.
That would make sense, I think. But I'll tell you this. I was very happy with 17 not having OB, because I did go across the path in round 2, and from across the path, putted in for a birdie. A big birdie there. So to me,
awesome.
Thank you for those. And I'm just patting myself on the back for one of my big accomplishments with my EV7.
Do you want a round of applause?
Yes, please. Thank
There you go. You can get a round of applause for that.
With my EV7 by the way, as you would know.
Of course.
Wait, that's like almost borderline throw in then. Like, how long of a putt are we talking for birdie?
Yeah, it was, Daryl and I, it's interesting, is Daryl has a setup where he's got 30 feet marked out. And when we stand the true 30 feet when it's marked, I think I call that circle 2 all day long when I'm on the course. So I'm going to say was in circle 2, but it had to be circle 2. There's no way I could be across the path and still be in circle 1.
Even if you're level with the basket.
I wish I wasn't.
No, but that's the closest point to the path, right?
Yeah.
So even if you went from basket to path in a straight line,
but then there's a tree in the way.
Yeah, there was one of the dead trees there. I'm just trying to think of the
closest point. So you were probably down at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah, because I can't throw all the way to the basket. So,
right.
Yeah.
So.
But anyways, that was a good moment. But with that too, Kristin.
What a highlight.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, what were your goals going into the tournament? Did you have set any goals for yourself? No.
Play above my rating, which is kind of like often a lot of all of our goals all the time. Like everyone wants to play above their rating. And so one of my goals that I did voice and think about was to play above my rating. So I shouldn't say no. And I did both rounds. So
it's awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the other side of it too is that there was 5 ladies who came out to play to play in the women's divisions, and they ended up getting a chance to put all of you on the same card. So was that kind of cool? Not just being the FPOs, actually having FA40 and having FA2 or FA1?
FA1, I think it was.
Yeah, and FA1. Was that kind of a good experience?
Yeah, it was really fun. I don't think I've played a tournament round with Jana before. I think maybe I have with Sarah. It's always good to play with your buds, like regardless of the division. It's always a good time to play with your buds.
Yeah.
It was great.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Jana I talked to her a little bit afterwards, and she was quite excited just to get the feel to see the pros playing and to be part of that and to get that experience. And I think that really jazzed her up for sure.
Yeah. There's a lot about disc golf that jazzes her up.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
In such a good way.
Absolutely.
Good way. Like I want her to hear that and know that that's like in such a good way. Like, but yeah, I think she was super jazzed. I was jazzed too, because I was like, oh yes, playing with Jana. Anytime you're playing with anyone new is really exciting, especially in the women's divisions. We've talked about this before, so I don't have to go on and on about it. But because we have such small numbers, we go to every event across Western Canada and play with the same people over and over and over. So anytime you can play with someone new, and I mean, Jana and Sarah they're not new, but I hadn't played tournament rounds with them. So awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
So now that Tundra Toss is in the bag, as you look forward to the rest of the 2025, how's your tournament schedule lining up? Have you got it kind of dialed in at this point? Is it still any gray areas?
lots of gray. I am definitely doing spring runoff. So it was super cool to see that you had Noah and Rebecca on tonight. It'll be my third time going down there for spring runoff. I really like that tournament. It's always a good experience. I always have a lot of fun in Lethbridge, and I really like those courses. So I'm going down for spring runoff for sure. I know Jeremy is considering.
Well, I'm now
maybe Daryl, you're considering.
I'm now considering as well. We have to have a conversation.
Yeah, there might be a after this conversation that needs to be had between the three of us.
Yeah.
I know there's some buds that really want to do Big Bear. It's just like, I find it's just like a little bit more of an expensive weekend to go to Canmore. Like just accommodations are a higher ticket item.
If you could even get one.
Yeah, exactly. So last year I did Big Bear really last minute, and I went by myself and I stayed at the Canmore downtown hostel.
Right.
Okay.
There's two Canmore hostels. One is like on that main drag, and it's like in the old like Canmore hotel.
Yeah.
That's probably fine too, but that's not the one I stayed at. I stayed at the Canmore hostel that's like on the main drag of like, not like downtown Canmore where it's like cute and trendy, but like by the road where like the service road. And that is the Canmore downtown hostel. And I stayed there for fairly cheap. And I hadn't stayed in a hostel since I was like 20. And it was so fun. And people were so respectful. And I just brought my earplugs and I actually got a really good sleep. And so if you're someone thinking about going to Big Bear, consider just checking out the hostel.
Yeah, that's definitely a great option.
Good advice too, for something that's maybe more cost effective when you're trying to put a lot of tournaments together and it adds up.
Yeah.
So
it's Big Bear has always been on my list to go there, but every time I've looked at it, it's just like you said about not only it's a bit more of an expensive accommodation, it's just the lack of accommodation. Yeah, I've never been able to find anywhere down there at that time of the year. You got to sign up or got to book something really early.
Yeah, you'd have to book something now, sort of. Yeah, that's the thing about it. You have to make the commitment so early in order to get accommodations, I think. Unless you wanted to like drive. I've also considered like you could like rent an Airbnb in Cochrane and drive in the morning. But I don't know. That's a lot of driving.
That's an hour every day.
Exactly.
Yeah, save your gas money and stay in town, I guess.
So that's kind of on there.
I really want to do. I am going to do it. It's just not announced yet. Larger Than Life in Whitehorse.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I have a friend, a really good dear friend who lives in Whitehorse.
Okay.
And I was up there once in 2018 to visit her in the middle of February.
Oh, really man.
Yeah. Oh my God, I have to text her. It was her birthday yesterday. Oh my God.
Well,
okay.
Go for it.
There you go. We can all text her. Tell her the Chain Out guys also wish her happy birthday.
I think so. It's not announced on Disc Golf Scene yet, but I've done a little sleuthing and there's like a link to their like Yukon Disc website. And I think they might be doing it the weekend of June 20th, which is earlier than last year. But not to be confirmed. Like, I don't know if that's real. So.
Well, Ryan Norke, the tournament director from last year, he's also a Patreon member too. So if he just happens to be watching it live, he could throw a comment in. And if he's not, then maybe on the weekend or something when he does check it out, he can add a comment. But I know that, he did so much work to put that event together for last year and is just excited to keep growing it and turning it into not a tournament. It's like a week-long disc golf festival.
Yes. I think his website, if it's up to date, and I think it is because it says 2025, I think it's June 16th to 22nd, which is an entire week.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's not. Yeah. Like you said, that's what.
There's flexi tiers and stuff happening.
Yeah. So many events that are
honestly,
happening outside.
I might just go for the week.
There you go. Best belated birthday present ever for your friend.
Oh my God. We'd have such a good visit. Yeah. So, and after that, I don't know. What about you guys?
Well, is Falcon's Flight not on your list this year?
Well, so yes, it always is. We have played Falcons Flight the last 4 years consecutive.
Right.
And it's, yeah, I want to play it. But I am hosting a multi-country family reunion
Oh wow.
in
Oh,
British Columbia in September. And so we're hosting family from the United States and we're hosting family from the UK in September.
Right.
And I say I am hosting because I'm spearheading the organizing of it. So Tim and I will be in BC for a week in September, and so I just don't know if we can also swing taking September long,
Yeah.
especially because it's Tim's busy season.
Yeah.
gotcha.
And that's fair. I mean, you've put 4 years of going there. It's always nice to take a break because then the next time you go back, you'll enjoy it more because you'll have missed it for a year. So you'll have that feeling of, oh yeah, I really want to go back there again, and maybe it'll be a bit more of an enjoyment. I mean, not that it's not a great tournament anyway, but
Yeah.
some things can become repetitive.
Well, and I'm
Keep
sure
doing it
there's
over.
probably two people that didn't get off the wait list last year. Not us, but two people who didn't that will be quite happy to fill those
Yeah.
spots, right? So,
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, thanks for saying that, Daryl, because so far I've just felt nothing but sadness when I think about not going. But you're right, there is a little silver lining. Like it's okay to take
Yeah.
a year off, be more
oh,
excited the next year.
There you go.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see.
Are you dialed in? I know we've talked about it a little bit.
Yeah.
You're kind of in the same position most of us are in.
well,
I mean, actually, this is kind of a bit of a throwback because the first time we had Kristin on the podcast, she told us about when you go to disc golf scene, follow the event.
yes,
And
which
that
we
adds
do.
it to your following. I think that's what we all do now. You follow the events that you want to attend, and then you've got a smaller list to pick from. You're like, okay, these are the ones I want to go to. Now, out of these 7 or 8 or 15 or whatever it
Yeah.
might be for some people,
Was
which
that a
ones-
year ago or 2 years ago? That was only a year and a
must
bit
have
ago.
just a year ago. Yeah.
Just a year. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we've been doing that since. And I think for me, what I did was I've kind of tried to get a balance. The very, very first year, I played a couple tournaments. Last year, I played not a ton, but a lot for me in unsanctioned events and that. Now I'm really trying to rein it into a balance. So I've been looking at like one big tournament, like one weekend tournament a month for the season. So Spring Runoff is on my list. River City Cup, already signed up for Nationals, Falcons Flight. And then I also want to play, because I really enjoyed WJ Homestead last year, I want to play that NADGT Nationals event that's there, which is an A tier, and I think it's just a 2-day maybe. And playing
Right.
River City Cup will get me qualified for that. So that's what my list looks like at the moment. So
Yeah.
I need an April
Did
tournament.
you mention BC Open and TCO?
Oh,
'Cause
TCO.
TCO. We
Yeah.
had invite from Carrie Neal.
Yeah,
as well
that's
to
sorry,
go out
and
there.
TCO.
Of course, of course. Oh my God, that's busy already, Jeremy. Holy
Yeah.
moly!
and
Good
then
for you.
and then hopefully there's time for the one disc challenge and the Alberta Health Hospital fundraiser. And,
Yeah, you can always fit those in.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Daryl, you're kind of where are you at?
Well, I was the same as you. I played a lot of tournaments for me last year, and this year, the fact that I've taken on the Edgar responsibility, I ruled out Tundra Toss, River City Cup straight from the word go because I thought, and especially listening to Carrie Neal say, volunteer at one or play at 5, volunteer at 1. So those events, River City and Tundra Toss, I'm going to be volunteering at. Edmonton Open, I will play just because it's in town and I don't have to. It's not a financial, I don't have to pay for travel or accommodation. But again, I'd
Nationals?
like to go to Falcons Flight. I'm registered for Nationals. That's
Yes.
on my list to go. I mean, barring the one thing that might happen,
Yes.
which, yeah, I will be going to that one. I'd like to go to BC Open or TCO, somewhere in BC to go and play an event there. Falcons Flight, we had a great time last year, so I'd like to go back. A lot of these places I'd like to
it just
go back.
starts adding up and adding
Yeah,
up and
a
adding
lot of
up.
them I'd like to go back just to play them again because I know that I can play better.
Yes.
I feel like with Athabasca when I went for Wally's 100 and Hidden Gem, like I felt like those two, I played it once, I played it again. I don't need to go back up there and play
For
that
it.
again for this year anyway.
Yeah,
So
like for a
that's-
tournament, you can go up for a casual round kind
right.
of thing.
Yeah.
So, well, there you go.
Yeah.
But when it's not playing tournaments, Kristin, you've also got the TDing that you do as well. And we're going to be getting closer and closer to we talked about spring runoff and how that's a big early season event. There's another big early season event, which is She's Up First as well. So how are things going so far with the planning on that?
Yeah, thank you for asking. The planning is going really good. Zoe is coming on board to also be a TD this year with me, and
nice.
so her and I have met. We went out and um, went for a beer and kind of talked about like fleshed out our to-do list and started talking, made a few decisions about the way we want a few things to look like. And I kind of also like just sort of laid it out for Zoe. I was like, well, here is what I have done in the past. I've done this because of this, and I've done this because of this. And then I said, but like, I'm not married to any of that. So like, I'm going to put you on all the logins, and like, you just make decisions as much as you want to make decisions. Because
Right.
I really feel like that event, and I'm sure like lots of TDs feel this way about their events. It really is owned by the community. Like
Mm-hmm.
when other women in Edmonton talk about She's Up First, they say like our tournament. That's the language that they use around it. And so I facilitate it, like just the logistics of it, which is a large job, which is, part of what we wanted to talk about tonight. But the actual happening of the event, the actual spirit of the event, the actual getting people out to the event, like all of that really non-tangible parts of the event belong to the whole community.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think people feel that way about other tournaments too. Like I feel like I feel that way about River City a little bit, even though I have never been a part of like organizing for it other than like volunteering a little bit, but I feel that way about River City.
Right.
I do volunteer every year at Falcons Flight, but I think because I'm not in that direct community and I only visit it once a year, I don't think of that as my tournament, even though I
Right,
volunteer
yeah.
there. But I think it's like the tournaments that are literally like just close to your home and being run by your friends, your immediate group of disc golfing friends. That's like where you feel like, okay, this is our tournament.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you guys feel like that too? Like, do
Yeah.
you feel like
No, I
even
can totally.
like,
Yeah, I can totally understand where you're coming from by saying that.
Yeah, I don't think for me, obviously last year we volunteered with She's Up First, but I don't know that there's any tournament because I still feel fairly new to the community. We've definitely been welcomed with open arms and we're now part of the community, but I don't know if there's anyone that I feel that is like I would say is my tournament or our tournament yet, but I definitely feel that I'm part of it. It's just that I don't use that language yet, but I
Yeah.
totally see it though,
Yeah.
especially with like She's Up First, where it's such a coming together to support women's disc golf. And speaking of that, we are totally, if we haven't told you, we're totally on board at volunteering again this year. Like that's another one that's on the list, right, Daryl?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that was never off the list. Yeah, we'll be there. We've had some discussions. We kind of, there's things that we want to do.
Yeah.
We obviously want to volunteer wherever you want to put us to work. We'll work. But there's things that have been said that something else that we can bring to the tournament as well.
yes,
And I don't know if you want to maybe take this moment, if there's anything, I know everything's in the planning stage in that, but some of the ideas maybe you have for the tournament this year or...
Yeah, that's a really good segue actually to like tournament funds as well. So, okay, one idea that I have for the tournament this year is when you go to like a corporate golf tournament, I'm talking ball golf,
Yeah.
and you're going with your work and whatever. Usually when you get to all the different holes, like there'll be a hole sponsor and they will be set up at the tee box,
Right.
Advertising themselves or hosting a game for you or pouring shots of fancy vodka or barbecuing hot dogs or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And so it kind of like creates like a bit of a party feel and like a bit of a fun feel. But that's what I think of when I think of hole sponsorship. When we talk about disc golf tournaments, hole sponsorship is usually used for in-demand events where folks want to get in early, or there's like a demand to get in early, like Falcon's Flight, for example. So you can pay an additional fee to register early as a hole sponsor. That money is greatly needed. It's fundraising for the tournament. And then you have sponsored that hole. Great. Your name gets put on a sign on the hole. You're the hole sponsor. And we know that you have financially supported this tournament, which is really important. I feel like in terms of fundraising, I can certainly talk about like the costs that I've experienced, not only, running She's Up First, but I've also run now a Get In, Get Out, Get Rated, and I've run a C tier, which was Hidden Gem up in Athabasca. So I've TD'd 5 events and, got like at least 2 more coming down the line this year, plus been side by side with Tim. Anyway, all of that is to say that even though there's a lot of costs, and I'm going to talk about what those costs are, I actually think for She's Up First, we don't really need sponsorship dollars for hole sponsorship. I'd like to get some hole sponsors that throw back the ball golf feel.
Right.
So,
Okay, yeah.
So if anyone, and they don't have to be, they could be anyone. They could be someone who wants to support the event, someone who wants to come out for the day, someone who has a business, someone who is a disc golfer themselves, whatever. If anyone wants to sponsor a hole, instead of taking your cash, I would like you to make that tee box,
own it.
I don't want to say make it your own, because it is about the women, but do something fun there to support the women that are playing. So offer a snack, offer bottled water. We can't offer booze because we are a sanctioned event, but offer, just decorate the hole, or, put out a table with candy, like 5-cent candies, or maybe there's a game that you have in mind and like you want to like play a quick game with everyone. It can't take all day, obviously, because pace of play, blah, blah, blah. But so one thing that I think Zoe and I are searching for this year is hole sponsors that want to just add to the fun on the course. And that's how you can sponsor a hole. And then, we're looking for other ways for people to get involved as well, obviously monetarily. And we can talk about why those costs are so important. But I think first and foremost, She's Up First is about getting new players involved in the sport. And so the number one goal of the day is to make it accessible. And number 2 goal is to like make it really fun and unforgettable, so that women come, they play, and they're like, I want to be a part of this community. I want to do this again.
Yeah. And I think you established that last year. That was the vibe. That was the feeling. There were so many smiles and so many happy people, and a lot of people who came out to play for their first time in an event. And that was good. And I think you're on the right track, from my opinion, for what that's worth, of adding that golf feel. Because I've been at those Texas Scramble tournaments for companies and that in the past and enjoyed it. So Daryl and I, we're in. We'll take a hole. We'll do it. We've got some ideas already. We don't know if we want to put them out there, but hopefully people aren't shy, because they might end up on the internet.
Oh my God. Oh, good.
Might have to have a little waiver on a table before you come and see us.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun. Yeah, no, that's great. There's a few people and I think it's also a really great way to get other folks involved too. I mean, obviously volunteers, we need, you guys can both attest to that from last year. And I leaned on you, Jeremy, quite heavily last year at Tournament Central. You like ran the show there. And so volunteers are certainly needed, but sometimes like, I don't want to say you get too many volunteers. That's never the case. We need volunteers.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's like people want to get really involved, and it's like, it's also work to like manage volunteers and like task them. But this is a way that I can be like, okay, it's your thing. Like, you're on hole 6, and like, obviously we have to be respectful to the women playing. We have to they have to be feeling comfortable and safe. And I'm going to have a whole, parameters.
Yeah.
So that, you know, everyone is feeling supported. And then other than that, like, yeah, just make the round as fun as possible.
Mm-hmm. No,
I'm excited for it.
It'll be great. Yeah. And I know what you mean there too with the volunteer side of it, is that you want volunteers, but I think sometimes, and this is no knock, but I've only experienced it. This is maybe my hot take for the day, Daryl.
Okay.
But this is from running races that I've been at and I've volunteered at. So I've volunteered at the races, and what ends up happening sometimes is you get to these and volunteers will show up, and it's almost like they function in their day-to-day life every day very, very well. They make it through their day, and then they show up as a volunteer, and they need you to almost hold their hand to take them to do things. And like I said, it's not all people, but I've run into that where it's like, if you're going to volunteer, show up, and you know what? Whatever you do is likely going to be fantastic. You probably don't need a handwritten instruction on how much water to pour in a cup or something like that.
Yeah.
But I've experienced that. So that's where I could see both sides of the volunteer panel.
Yeah. Like, just show up and do what you're doing with, like, just do it, unless it's like, you know, unless it's something like harmful or that you really feel questionable about. But yeah, if it's like, you know, I think we experienced this even at like at Wetaskiwin. You guys were like, I'm like, okay, you guys are dealing with the Mando line, and you're like, okay, well, come out.
we were gonna deal with it, and we could draw one, but
we took the paint. We went out there to do it. We had good intentions, but I think, from my point of view on that, and you know, whenever I get told to do something, because I'm going to kind of flip it around and be that
You're
person.
that guy, aren't you? You're that guy.
Because I want the event to run good, or whatever it might be, you know, even if it's, I don't know, I can't give another example, but I want to make sure I do it right. Because some people will say, well, just do it how you want to do it. But then I do it, and then people are like, well, no, I wouldn't have done it like that. I would. So then just tell me the way you want me to do it, and I'll do it. I don't mind being told. But so,
all right,
but
so
I mean, there's levels to it, right? We were the thing that we were doing as a Mando line
was important for every player.
Yeah, the last thing we wanted to be is the reason why there was arguments, or well, that never should have been like that. Who's running this event, right? Because we've seen that before. We've heard stories about OB lines not being straight,
not being infinity lines properly, and stuff like that. Yeah,
in our defense, it wasn't. It wasn't taking water to a hole 16. There was a bit more pressure on us.
and you don't need to defend. I'm only mostly giving you a hard time because we did need to have that conversation, because I remember what came out of it with the directionality of the line.
Yeah.
We actually really needed to have that conversation. It was not cut and dry. It was not a black and white decision. So I mean, I'm giving you a hard time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
just put him in control of water is what it really is at the end of the day here for Daryl. Or I'll help him. I'll guide you, my friend. Although with that one there, that was our first. We feel really experienced now. Send us on all the OB lines. We got them figured.
Yeah, okay. We don't need to talk about OB lines anymore. But
you know what we should talk about, Kristin, is that you reached out to us after seeing Carrie Neal's post related to this year's TCO that she just dropped. And what we want to do is, Daryl's got it here. We're going to pull it up and take a quick look at it. I'll probably read it in case there's anybody there we are. So since November, the TCO team has been working to secure major and supporting sponsorship. And in early January, we finalized both. However, our economy is dictating how we run an event of this caliber, keeping it cost effective for the players while staying within our budget. The player experience is important, and we want to ensure nothing is compromised, especially player packs, after-hour activities, and courses that meet competition standards. So after many weeks of back and forth with our two manufacturers and several meetings to crunch numbers, we realized the rising cost of goods, the exchange rate, duties, taxes, and the looming 25% tariff was forcing our hand. The only thing that made sense, although difficult to do, was to part ways with these two incredibly generous and supportive sponsors and be, in bold, in cap locks, made in Canada. That's right. All player packs will have items created, made, and manufactured in Canada. We have an exception for the juniors though MVP Disc Sports wanted to stay involved with the tournament, so they agreed to give an item exclusive to their player packs at no cost to the event. We're going to keep it a surprise, but we promise the tradition of making TCO extra special for our juniors will not disappoint. So if you are on the fence about playing, know that all your money is staying in Canada, supporting Canadian disc golf businesses. Carrie Neal, Tournament Director. So that's an amazing letter, and it addresses a lot of things that were happening right now. But what it did was you reached out to us because we've talked about it on the podcast about tournaments and what the cost is, and is it a right for a tournament director to make money? What really goes into it? What are the fees? And you said, you know what, Jeremy and Daryl, it's time to shed some light on it. And we want to give you the floor, and let's dive into it.
Well said.
Well said by Carrie. Thank you for reading that, Jeremy. I was, obviously, when I saw that update from TCO written by Carrie, I was like, okay, this is great. Like, I love how she's being so transparent and addressing, like, this is like a struggle that we are facing. You know, we are in our off season right now, but we're already spending hours and hours and hours of work on this. So I think it's just, I was really impressed, obviously, by her transparency to just say, like, this is what we're doing. And that did give me, and I mean, I guess I can preface this by saying, like, there's no right or wrong. Like, obviously, for any event, different tournament directors are going to have different priorities, different communities, you know, based on the community that you are serving with your event. There's going to be different needs of the community. But I do think that it's really important for players who, you know, play in any tournaments. Specifically, my thoughts are on sanctioned events, PDGA sanctioned tournaments. Understand the huge financial costs involved in running a PDGA sanctioned tournament. And it just feels like there's already been lots of discussion about it. There's been discussion about it on Facebook, on the Canadian Disc Golf Hub, on social media, on Reddit, on other podcasts. Like I know that it's not like it's like hidden, and it's not like it's something that's not talked about, but I just feel like there's a lot of costs to running an event. I have my 2023 and my 2024 financial spreadsheets up, and I can rattle off like what the examples of what those costs are, if that's helpful for you guys, or if you think it's helpful for your listeners. And I think one opinion that I have is that whether or not a TD is going to make money at the end of the day, maybe they are, maybe they aren't. In my experience, I certainly have never made any money. I've only ever lost money. And I would say that probably most TDs are in the exact same boat. Maybe there are TDs out there that are doing it and able to make $1. And if they are, that's fine. I'm of the opinion that I actually think sanctioned events, maybe only of a certain size, like maybe it doesn't need to be C tiers, but probably A tiers and up. There should be more requirement of like financial transparency. Not to put more work on the TDs, but hopefully it's not more work. Hopefully you are keeping track of your finances. I have a list of all my expenses from my tournaments and a list of all of the incoming money that I had through registrations and through, like, it's not extra work. I could submit it to the PDGA tomorrow. I just think I actually wouldn't mind if a tournament director makes money, but as long as they're being transparent about it. I will say the way that it's set up right now, I can't imagine a tournament director making money on a tournament. Like, anyone who's thinking like, oh, they're just taking my $150 registration fee and like making money on that, is like, they're not understanding like all of the costs that it takes. So I think what I can do, I don't want to like ramble, but I think what I can do is say that, like, first and foremost, hopefully most people already know this, when you are hosting a PDGA sanctioned event, the amateur side of the event it's required by the PDGA that there's a minimum percentage of the entry fee that has to go back to the player in a player pack.
Right.
That percentage is very high. It's something like 83% or 82%. It's over 80%. So if you pay $100 to enter a tournament, you have to receive $80 retail value of goods. This is hugely problematic, because that means all that's left of your entry fee is $20 to cover all of the costs that I can tell you that I have a list of that are huge. And this is partly why the cost of events is so high, because it's percentage based. If you think about it, if I keep my entry fee, so I really struggle with this with She's Up First. My number one goal for the tournament is accessibility. Someone who is brand new to tournament play does not want to pay $60 to enter a tournament. So I want to keep my entry fee as low as possible. The first year I did it, it was $30. This year we have it set at 40. I'm going to try to get it back down to like 20 or 30. But 80% of that money needs to go back to the player. Now I'm only left with like less than $2. Right. To have all of my other expenses that are required. So the higher a TD makes their entry fee, the larger dollar amount they can take to run the event. Now, this is already talked about on like Disc Golf Hub and things like that. So you guys might already know this as well. This is why the pass-through fee came into place last year. So TDs were addressing this, like we don't have any money left over to like actually run a good event. And that's why the PDGA has said like, okay, well now you can use what's called an amenity fee or a pass-through fee. So if you have additional expenses, like you need to rent the course or you need to rent porta potties or whatever your additional expenses are, you can put it in a pass-through fee. Awesome. I didn't witness this year the cost of any of the tournaments going down. Right. There was pass-through fees, but the cost of the tournaments are still so large. And I kind of feel like this idea of like entering the tournament and getting goods for your entry fee has really inflated like a tournament. Why, if someone can use a pass-through fee to cover the porta potties, to cover the whatever, to cover the green fees, then surely we could lower the cost of entry of the tournament back down to the maybe $60 or $80, and I still receive 80% of that in goods. But it's like if a player goes to a tournament and they only get a disc, they're really disappointed. So I really struggle with it. Because I think affordability, and I think Carrie's post really speaks to this in like our economic times, is like affordability is the cost of living crisis that we have happening is like, it's not going to go away. It's only going to become more and more important to people. And I think in order to have our sport continue to be sustainable and continue to really welcome new players, like, I don't know, I think that affordability cost needs to be there. I'm going to quickly rattle off some of the fees that I had last year for She's Up First.
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
So you pay a sanctioning fee to sanction your event. So this is for a sanctioned event. It's $75 USD, and that's about $100 Canadian. That has to be paid ahead of time. So for She's Up First this year, I've already paid that money out of my pocket. Nobody's registered for the tournament yet. I've paid that money from my own personal money. Right. Then your tournament needs to be insured. You have to have insurance. If you are part of a club that's hosting the event, like if EDGA is hosting an event, EDGA has insurance. We all pay for a part of that as like our EDGA membership. But if you're an individual hosting, so I'm Kristin Swirles hosting a tournament, then you can purchase like 1-day insurance through the PDGA. So if you have a that's another 75 USD. So that's another $100.
Right.
So Zoe and I met 2 weeks ago. We sanctioned and insured our event, and we paid $200 out of our pocket.
Right.
You know, and keep in mind, we only want to host, we're only going to host like 50 women at $20 or $30 or $40 a pop. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's $800
Right.
of incoming funds. We've already spent 200.
Yeah. So 800, spent 200, spent 25% of the funds that you haven't received yet, and the tournament hasn't started.
Just to have the event.
Yes.
Then on top of that, the PDGA takes what's called a per player fee.
Yep.
So in previous years, it's always been $2. Last year, it was $2 per player. I think it might have just gone up to $3, and I actually don't know. Maybe someone in the chat could confirm. But it is either $2 or $3 per player. So the more players that register, the more, when you submit your event report at the end, the PDGA sends you a bill, and they're like, okay, you owe us this much more money for however many players you had.
Right.
So,
Okay.
you know, you can imagine that adds up in like a big A-tier tournament that's hosting 200 players. There's another $400.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
God.
I mean, for our purposes, you know, 50 players, there's another $100.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so those are like
So we're
the
down to
bare minimum.
$500.
Yeah. So if it was a $2 fee and you had 50 players there, that's another $100
Yeah.
coming off it right
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, now the PDGA says, by the way, you need to give the players 80% of their entry fee back to them.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see how inflationary that is, that the players, like, if I want to run a $20 event, I don't have enough to cover all those costs. So all of a sudden, if I run a $60 event, now
Right.
that percentage is like, I've got more dollars to play with, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most spaces have either green fees. If you think about even our public parks, if you want to rent Rundle Park or Hermitage Park for the day, there's a fee. There's a fee from the city. If you want to rent the picnic site for the day, there's a fee from the city. We do both of those things for She's Up First, because I think it's really important to be able to like tell like a casual player, like, no, sorry, like we have rented the space for the women, to really truly hold the space for the women.
Yeah.
Now, we are so blessed with EDGA because of their city agreements. They get up to 3 events at no charge from the city.
Okay.
And they are so generous as to have one of those events be She's Up First. So we actually don't have green fees for She's Up First, but most events do, and that can be hundreds of dollars.
Hundreds.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Hundreds, yes. And I mean, I can't speak. I can't speak to what it would cost at like different private courses. Like I think about like nationals and like being on the ski hill. Like what is the daily cost? And like I think about nationals and like having even just that lodge and like there's like staff there that were serving food and beer and like I'm sure the daily cost to be there is, I don't know. Like I'm sure they also maybe have agreements, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's like maybe thousands of dollars. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily we don't have that for, you know, a little C tier in the park and EDGA pays the green fees. Great.
Right.
But you know, there are fees
yeah.
to any space.
So we've actually saved some money there, thank you to Edga, but we're still sitting at $500 is what we've got here.
But-
yeah.
Kristin's using this as an example of She's Up First, which
Yeah,
is what
but
we're-
another
which is
event,
great.
they would be down to
Yeah.
$300, $200,
Exactly.
maybe nothing
that's
at
not
that point.
That's not
Yeah.
a fee that everybody can wave off. So
yeah.
on while we're talking about it, because I don't want it to go too far away from it. Brock in the chat said that Lloyd Park in Calgary is over $1,000 a day.
Oh my.
I'm so glad Brock is in the chat, and I'm so glad he's saying that. That's
Wow.
So, and I mean, so you can see why the PDGA has implemented this pass-through fee. So they've said like, oh, okay, you're not making enough money off of your players to have your costs. You can have your entry fee, and then you can have a pass-through fee, and the pass-through fee is all yours to spend on those amenities. And I mean, that is a good solution. It is a good solution, and I feel like TDs should utilize it. And I've seen it, and they have been, and I just feel like it's important to like educate people around like why that's there.
Can you explain exactly how that pass-through fee works? So let's say you run an event for $30. Where does that pass-through fee come from, and how much are you allowed to take?
So the player would have to pay it. Like if you were registering for disc golf scene, do you know how you see, like you see, like when you're registering, there's like the cost of the tournament, and then sometimes there's like add-ons, like and like and sometimes they're optional. Ace pot, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're registering for a tournament, and it will say it on disc golf scene, like along with the registration, it'll say either like green fee or pass-through fee, or sometimes it's called amenity fee.
Yeah.
But it won't be an option. It'll be applied to your cost, but it's money that's separate from your entry fee. So you don't have to include that as your 80% that goes back to the player.
Okay, gotcha.
But
So it's a way to reduce that. So your $60 entry with a $5 pass through is considered for the 80% value that you have to do. It's considered $55 at that point. That $5 doesn't count of your 60 towards it. Does that make sense?
Correct.
Yeah, you could have just used 100 as your line,
so
because that would have been an easier percentage to work it out. But
there you
I know
go.
what you're saying. Yeah.
Yes, and actually, I don't know. Maybe there's other TDs that have hosted more than I do. I did use one for Wetaskiwin for get in, get out, get rated.
Yeah.
So you paid the amenity fee. You might not have even noticed. It was $3.
Right.
So
right. Yeah, I remember.
Get in, get out, get rated was a $5 event, so that we could keep that 80% owed back to you like super cheap, so that we could just give you a granola bar and be like, okay, here you got your money's worth.
Yeah.
But then it was like, okay, we have all these other expenses, so we added $3 per player, and so that cost just goes back to you.
Yes. Yeah.
So it is a really good solution that the PDGA has implemented. Is it going to be the solution forever? I don't know. It's just like it's a workaround is what it is.
Yeah. Well, and that's where I think too is that sponsors can kind of come in a bit when you think about it, is that looking back, my family owned a Dairy Queen, and going back to races and running is we'd get people, or schools, for example, they'd say, can you give us $200? And giving $200 sometimes from a business to give cold hard cash is a difficult thing. But we know what we have a whole ton of is ice cream. We have a lot of dilly bars, and a dilly bar may sell for $2, but the cost to make a dilly bar isn't $2. It might be 50 cents, or it might be 75 cents. So at that point there, you can give someone 100 dilly bars that are worth $2 a piece. So that's $200 worth of product. I'm using big math here for you.
I was just laughing because you're looking at me when you're doing it. You're like, am I going too fast for you? I got it.
But yeah, so in that case there, then all of a sudden that works for the sponsor. It gives an event that dollar value at a retail level that they can then hopefully use to reduce the amount there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of what Carrie was getting at in her post, that like so many big events that are having to pay out like $100 of retail value to players in players packs for hundreds of players. Like this is thousands of dollars. They do work out agreements with manufacturers to like, that's why, you'll go and like all the tournament discs are from one manufacturer. Maybe they have a deal with Prodigy, or they have a deal with whoever. But the issue is so many of these manufacturers are in the States. So like if you're working directly with the manufacturers, we're learning that like these costs are maybe not going to be so affordable anymore. And then, I haven't listened to the Around the Basket yet with Brendan, but I'm going to be prioritizing it this weekend because I'm interested to hear what he has to say as well. And I'll ask him about this as well. But like, I like the DQ example because ice cream can sell for $5 ice cream and it costs them 50 cents to make. But the margins on discs for Brendan are not
that same margin.
Right.
No, not even
close.
close.
It's not that same margin. So I say we like as a community, we like our players registering for tournaments, and we're thinking like, oh, well, they're just getting this for like the wholesale price anyway. So like my player pack should be like, what, but it's like, I don't know that it's as beneficial for Brendan to sell player pack discs at a wholesale value as it is for Dairy Queen for their ice cream. Do you
Yes,
know what I
yeah,
mean?
Yeah.
So I think we have to be really cautious in our expectations of sponsors. Like, sponsorship is crucial, as you can see, as we're going down these numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we also need to be cautious of our expectations of sponsors. And I think, like, we know Limber and Gander both closing in the last year, and I'm sure that was part of the discussion with Brendan, which is I'm gonna listen this weekend. But it's also like the sponsorship is so important, and I can tell you we literally had $1,180 of sponsorship money donated to She's Up First last year, which is absolutely invaluable. Yeah. Half of that money coming from the CWE, the Canadian Women's event.
Okay.
So as you can see, as I'm rattling off this list, that money is like so invaluable. And goods are invaluable too. But I think I don't want to say this is the only point I'm trying to make, but I do think that the 80% back to the players is too high.
Right.
Yeah.
It's too high.
I just want to go back and touch on that amenity fee or the pass-through fee, what you said there. There's two things I want to ask you. One, how much can the TD set that amount to be? Is there a limit on what they can set it to be? And two, do you have to declare what that, I mean, you can put it down. I think this is kind of what some people have been saying is you can put it down as amenity fee or a pass-through fee. But then what the TD does with that money, then there's no breakdown of what they do with that money. So unless there's a transparency for the players to know what they're doing with that fee, where does from their point of view, where do they see it going? So I don't know from your point of view, one, what's the limit? And two, do you have to give a breakdown?
I don't know what the limit is. That's a great question. And we should all make mental note of it to look it up, because I'm sure there is an answer, and I'm sure there is a limit.
Right.
Whether it's percentage based or dollar based, I'm sure there's a limit. I don't know what it is.
Okay.
The transparency thing is so key. And again, that's why, Carrie's post kind of resonated with me, like already kind of starting from that place of transparency to, the folks that are going to come to CCO, whether or not it's with the amenity fee, Daryl, or even just with your registration fee, what the TD does with the money, there is you have to do a report at the end, and then the PDGA sends you a bill and you have to send them an e-transfer, and but you don't have to lay out what any of your costs were. Right. If someone is selling discs really cheap for I don't know why they'd be doing this, but $2 a disc or something.
Right.
I could say, oh, well, these discs retail at $30 a disc, and I only spend $2 on them, and great, now I have more money. And I think part of the reason that maybe some TDs do that, but that's because they're so desperate to save a buck on every single step, and you hand over your money, and for most people, it goes directly into their personal PayPal, and you're just trusting that you're going to get that player pack and that it's at a certain value. And I guess that's your, where you're believing that the money goes. And so you're like, oh, I don't know where this amenity fee goes, because I don't see it, but you are going to see it because, well, some of it you don't see. All the things I just mentioned, the per player fee, the sanctioning, the insurance, the green fees. Yeah. A lot of it you are going to see. And those are all the next items, which is I'll get to all those items, but I agree there needs to be transparency. I think why not honestly, I think I'm going to write to the PDGA about it, and I would maybe consider, encouraging others to do so too. With your event report, submit a list of your expenses. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, I don't want to create more work for the PDGA, and certainly we don't want our PDGA to have to cost us more, because now they have to hire a staff member to look over all our receipts. I don't want that. Right. Mm-hmm. But if you as a player knew, oh, well, the TD does have to track on a little spreadsheet where all their expenses went and where all of their incoming cash was, and that there's some sort of balance that it has to fall between to get approved by the PDGA. Like, if you knew that that existed.
Yeah.
And it's not that, in my mind, that shouldn't be that much more work for the TDs. I have that list in front of me. I can copy and paste it into my.
Yeah. You would think that TDs would be keeping a track of everything they're spending on and paying out anyway, because like you said, it's coming out of their own personal PayPal in most instances.
But the thing there is, though, because everyone is doing it from a place of passion and wanting to make their event as good as possible, you start just spending money for the event. And I'm sure Carrie Neal could resonate with this, especially with women's events. Like, I have all my expenses listed, but I know, looking at this list, I spent more money than what's listed here. I know that I did, because something came up and I was like, oh, I need that for the tournament, and like, because it will make it a better experience for the players. So because so many TDs are working out of a place of passion for it, like, maybe they're not looking at it as like a business and keeping track. They're just like spending money and know they're going to get reimbursed when the registrations roll in. I don't know.
Yeah. So here's I don't want to say a hot take, but here's another take on something that you mentioned earlier. Should TDs be getting paid? I talked a little bit to Brock about this. All TDs are all TDs running events because they volunteer their time and it's a passion, and nobody makes any money out of these events. Is it all just free voluntary time that you give up? And you, like you said, you've lost money on events. Should TDs be getting paid? Or if, like we say, that there's no transparency on these fees, if somebody is taking those fees and putting them in their pocket, or maybe not using the full amount of the fees that they get, is it a bad thing for a TD to make money from an event?
What do you think? What's your opinion? I'm curious about yours.
So I don't
can
mind.
Chime in too, but you go ahead.
Well, you could. Well, okay, I'll chime in and be 100% honest. When we've been talking about doing, and this is mainly me, I'm not bringing Jeremy into this because it's been mainly my idea, my passion, sort of thing. Yeah. We've been talking about doing chain out events and what it was going to be, and we wanted to do all these different events. And I never really understood, because I never took the time to speak to a TD, which I'm glad we're doing now. And since then, I've spoken to Brock as well. Mm-hmm. Part of my reason for doing it was, okay, if I can run an event and let's say at the end of it, we make $200, that's $200 that we can use to keep the podcast going and cut our costs on this. So there was the intention, not that it was, how do I say it? Like, that was what I thought. But since I found out that if people are frowned upon a TD making money, that it shouldn't be going to the TD, it should be going to players' packs or course maintenance or whatever, then I was kind of the opinion, okay, well, I don't want to do something that's going to get me looked at in a negative way from people, because that wasn't what I wanted to do. I want to put on a chain out event. Yeah. But I was under the assumption that TDs don't do this for free, and that somewhere along the line they get paid. Not to the standard of like making it a full-time job, but there should be some reward, some payment for putting all the effort and organizing everything in the first place. So that's where I thought we were going, but that's why a chain out podcast never quite happened, because once I had a conversation with our event with Brock, he relayed to me all the fees and numbers that you're going through right now that I never took into consideration that has to be paid to run an event. So you can chime in now, Jeremy.
No, go ahead, Kristin. If you
you go ahead.
Okay. So what I would say to everybody here is that what I think is that we all, first of all, I'm going to start from this point, and trust me, it's going to get bigger, is that we all want the sport to grow. And in order to have the sport grow, we need to have events. We need to put on events, and we need to have them happen. And I think in the beginning stages, there is a big volunteer component to that, and that there should be volunteers out there who are willing to take that mantle. And that's what Carrie had done at the beginning and all of these things here. But as the sport grows, Kristin, if I can ask you, how many hours do you think you put in before she's up first? How many volunteer hours do you think you commit over the time period?
Like for 1 year, like for 2025's event coming up this year.
Yeah. How many hours do you think you'll put in, just roughly? Will it be 20 hours? Will it be 5 hours? Will it be 100 hours?
Probably between 60 and 80, because I'm pretty good at setting boundaries with my time and not letting it become all consuming. If you are someone who it is such a passion, like I think of someone like Carrie Neal, hundreds.
Right. So then what we're
easily countless.
Yeah. So let's say with Carrie, she puts in personally, not even counting her other TDs and such. So she needs to find enough time in her busy life and schedule where she probably has a day job and wants to do her own activities and everything else, and then take 200 hours out of the goodness of her heart to put towards organizing an event. To me, let's say I'm going to go back to the Dairy Queen. I'm now going to sell ice cream, but I'm not allowed to make money. How long am I going to sell ice cream for?
Right.
Not very long. Now, should I sell ice cream for $1 and it only cost me 10 cents and I should make 90 cents? I think everyone would say, hey, you're ripping me off. That's the situation. But if there was an agreed upon amount that said, when you pay $100, $20 is going to the TD from that. It's very clear. This is to help them and the people that are supporting run this event. You will also get money off of this. And it's, as you said, it's very clear and it's upfront. Now, if you've got a great TD who can go out there and drum up a whole bunch of other sponsorships and that type of thing and grow that sport and offer an even better event for you and maybe make a little more, good for them. The same thing that you would say about a Dairy Queen owner who's like, well, not only can I do this for you, I can actually make your day and I can give you a cake and I can do all these wonderful things and they can make more money at it. You're going to be happy for them. But I do think personally, with the amount of time that people are putting in, that there should be some compensation back to them. But if they want to do it out of the goodness of their heart, then good for you. I'm really happy that you're doing that, and I will be at your tournament.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I really resonate with everything you guys have said. I mean, my opinion is I'm a bit of a fence sitter, which is not, it's not hard hitting, it's not flashy to say that.
Right.
But there's such a deep part of me that really hates capitalism, and that really, if we start going down the road of like, wow, you can make money just to run an event, like how does that start to spiral? And, Ironman is such a great example in the triathlon world. Like Ironman is a for-profit entity in triathlon, and there are a lot of mixed feelings about Ironman events because of that, and because that it is a for-profit entity. But on the other hand, like it is hugely successful, and everyone around the globe knows the brand Ironman and knows what that is, and they have staff, and they have, like it's an organization that it's a business. So, I mean, really, it comes down to the question of like, do you think that disc golf events should become a business?
Right.
When I think, like, everything that you're saying resonates with me, and I agree with it for sure. But
but you've got the slippery slope.
Yeah, I don't think disc golf events should become a business. I think that does exist in like the Disc Golf Pro Tour.
Right.
And that is a business. And I don't think that our level of community events should become a business. So no, I actually don't think that TDs should be. I'm kind of surprised to hear myself saying this right now because
as the TD who did put in the hundreds of hours.
Yeah.
And as you guys were both talking, I was really resonating. I'm like, yeah, it's so much work and blah, blah, blah. And like, people don't understand. But I really fundamentally, I don't feel like at our level of events, for amateurs, I actually don't think it's the best way to grow the sport.
Right.
To like it would grow the brand, and it would grow the brand of your event, and it would create better events because there would be more competition among events. And there would be more people wanting to try their hands at it, and like it would become business. And I don't think that's where the sport should go. I really think keeping events grassroots and accessible and very low cost is the best way to grow the sport, because we just don't have the numbers yet in this sport, especially speaking locally, especially speaking in Canada, to support that business. We don't even have enough numbers to support multiple retail stores in Alberta.
Fair enough.
And us, like the three of us here can buy as many discs as we want from Limber and as many discs as we want from Gander, but that was not going to stop them from not being able to operate. It's like a numbers game. The numbers have to be so high of people getting into the sport. And as much as we saw that explosive growth in COVID, and as much as all of us are entrenched in it, like feel that it is really big and huge, I don't think it's at the level of like being a business. I don't think we would be anywhere close to making that jump to like paying TDs to run events. So I actually don't think they should take a cut.
Well, mate, where do we? I want to clarify when we say paying TDs. Is it if we had something like you could take a percentage of the people that the players that you have in the event, or a limit? So we're not saying, because I know you kept saying make it for a profit, and then if you look at it as a business, then yeah, the TD is going to try and make as much money because he knows that's going to be his profit. Whereas if you had 50 people sign up, you got, I mean, I'm just throwing out numbers because I'm not a numbers guy, but if you had a dollar for every person that signed up, you could only get $1 from a person. If you had 50 people, you would get $50. If you had 100, you'd get $100. Or a limit that you could take per event. So it's not a money-making scheme. It's not like you're trying to make a profit. You're going to turn it into a big business to think, okay, I can do this. How can I manipulate these numbers, manipulate this tournament to benefit me the most? All I'm concerned about, or the point that I'm trying to get across, is just paying, and I think Jeremy is as well, just giving the TD some sort of compensation, some reward for your time. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And I resonate with that, and I agree with that. And I think that's where that per player cost comes from the PDGA. When we talk about that $2 per the
PDGA
oh, fee. Sorry, the PDGA fee.
They charge your event $2 per player. It's not a percentage base. It's just like every player you have to pay us $2. Because the PDGA, while they are a business and an organization, are still very small. So that is exactly how they're thinking. They're like, well, we don't want to like be for profit. We want to be community minded, but we need to have staff. Like we need to have staff here at the PDGA hosting our website and doing these things. So yeah. No, I don't.
I swayed her a little bit.
I mean, the thing is, if I think about it for myself, if I got $1 from every player who plays She's Up First that I can just pocket as a thank you for my time, it wouldn't change my mind to do the event or not, even if it was $2 from every player. Like if at the end of the event I can pocket $100 of like player fees to me as a TD fee, I'm not going to be like, oh great, now I can do this again next year. Like my decision to do it the next year again or not
based on that. Yeah.
Is not based on whether I made $100 or overspent $100 on my budget and that came out of my pocket.
Right.
However, I'm also like in a very privileged position to be able to say that. Maybe there are people that would love to run a tournament, but they don't have any funds available, and it would make it more accessible for them to run a tournament if they could charge a TD fee. Maybe that's an argument to be said as well.
Well, there you go.
I think that kind of comes back around to those pass-through fees of not being transparent, because TDs might be doing that already. We don't know.
Maybe.
That's a bit of a hot take.
There you go.
I think when you continue to hear my lists of costs,
Yeah.
Well, and
You
you
can
should go
carry
there
on
because
again,
we've only
yeah.
gotten down to we had 800, didn't we? And we've gotten down to 500,
we
right?
had,
We're down to
we had
500.
800 yeah, just yeah. I find it hard to believe that any TD is making any money.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't think, unless you're running, as you said, a really big event, then maybe. Like maybe Maple Hill makes some money. Like maybe.
Oh,
Yeah. Those are private courses.
DGPT.
Yeah.
DGPT is making money. They have to. They're in that business. But I just mean locally, like in our Alberta scene, in our Western
Right.
Canada
Yeah.
scene, even in our Canadian scene. I mean, maybe they are, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess if they have these long-standing deals with manufacturers and they can get the players pack literally for a fraction of the cost, literally like the DQ ice cream, like you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
But then how is that helping their local community? That just means they're not going to order their player packs from BR Disc Golf.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Okay. So we were down to $500 of like we'll call those invisible costs. Now
Yeah.
here are your visible costs. Tim, this is Tim's spreadsheet. We have a line item for day of supplies, water, flags, spray paint. Maybe you want sunscreen available for the competitors, snacks, whatever day of supplies. We just budget $80.
Gotcha.
Okay.
You bought spray paint for get in, get out, get rated, and I reimbursed you from that $80 budget because I was like, we have the budget. Don't go out of pocket. I'm already going out of pocket all the time. Here's the big one. Trophies.
Right.
Trophies are a huge expense. Hundreds of dollars for like even just my little C-tier event. So last year I made homemade trophies. You guys saw them. They were like little flower pots.
I got one.
Made them. Yeah. I went to, and like the trophies from the players, like they had little ceramic pots. I went to the dollar store. I picked them all out. I spray painted them all. I hand painted them all with She's Up First on it. I went to the store and bought flowers. Like I hand made the trophies, and just the cost of like all those little things, spray paint, flowers, soil, the actual vases was $150.
Wow.
Right.
That is a dirt cheap cost for trophies. If
Yeah.
you're running a big A-tier event and you are handing out trophies or medals for like all of your divisions, FA1, FA2, FA3, MA1, MA2, MA3, and
First,
you're
second,
handing
and
out
third.
yeah,
Yeah.
hundreds of dollars in trophies. For She's Up First, last year I spent $150 on trophies.
And the number of hours it took you, again, let's
Yeah.
add more hours to put those together.
Right? If you don't, well, it just goes to show that like even if you think you're going to cut costs by like I'm going to do a homemade trophy, that'll cut costs. The
And
costs have to
increase
come
labor.
from something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have to come from something else. So there's a cost to trophies no matter what. Lunch add-ons, we bought lunch for our volunteers because we had the sponsorship dollars to do so. So we had like additional lunch costs. And I know of some events that do that too. So like if you have volunteer or whatever it could be, maybe it's like a gift for your volunteers or like whatever. Like I call that stuff like GAC, just like extra stuff for the people that are helping you. Portable washrooms. So we rented a porta potty last year. That cost $210.
So
We're pretty much done here, Daryl.
Yeah,
I think we've spent all the
were.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had 500 left, less 80,
Which,
That's
yeah.
150.
420,
Yeah.
less 150 for trophies,
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we're at
Less-
270.
less
Yeah.
the
One's
Less
lunch,
200. Yeah.
270.
less the lunch add-ons, another $100 to buy lunch
Yeah.
for our
So
volunteers.
170 less the porta potty. Now we're $30 in the hole. if we didn't
And
have
I-
any sponsors, right?
And I haven't bought player packs yet.
Right.
And I have to, and 80% of that $800 has to go to the players in player packs. I've used all of my costs and I haven't bought player packs yet.
Yeah. When they need 80% retail value for their players back.
Yeah.
So
And I'm not done my list. I have more expenses.
So well, you know what you're showing us right away here, without even getting into those other expenses, is just that, like you said, how important it is for the sponsors to step up and get to the table. So I think that's probably what makes the events, probably differentiates the successful events from maybe the smaller ones, is that who's good at getting sponsors to the table and who's good at getting volunteers to the table. And if you've got those abilities, then you're going to maybe be able to make this work. But if you don't, you hopefully got deep pockets because it's coming out of somewhere.
Yeah, the sponsorship is so huge. Like I said, we had $1,180 in sponsorship money added last year. So there you go. Now my coffers are replenished to get all those player packs or whatever, to get all those items, right?
Yeah.
So, but like sponsorship can come in any form. Like maybe someone has a connection to a porta potty company
Right.
Yeah.
and they could donate the porta potty. That would be a huge cost savings. You know, that's one example.
Yeah.
Sponsorships doesn't have to be prizing in discs, although great if it is prizing in discs, because that's like extra love that we can give to our players. But it could also be a porta potty. It could also be something for trophies. It could also be whatever, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense for sure.
Yeah.
So
sponsors. So last year we had title sponsors, Wally's 100th and Riva, who Dylan Froelich works for Riva.
Yes.
They shared title sponsorship. So we were presented by Wally's 100th and Riva, and they each gave us $100 cash. Just said like, we want to give you $100 because we think your event's really rad.
Oh, that's awesome.
I know. Cold Garden, which is Jordan's tour, sponsored us last year and gave us $250 cash.
Okay.
The CWE is the Canadian Women's Event. And
Yep.
the Canadian Women's Event is, again, volunteer run. It's women that are volunteering their time to support Canadian women's tournaments in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And they do that through mentorship of TDs. So if you want to like learn about TDing, it's a group that is going to like take you under their wing and walk you through how to host an event. And then they also do it through garnering like fundraising and sponsorships.
Okay.
So they gave our event $580 last year,
Right.
Okay.
which is
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
And then like local crews, the Lychucks with their Wolfpack disc golf crew
Yes.
donated $50.
Okay.
And Edga also donated towards the porta potty. I think I don't know if it was Edga or if it was Tim Sherman. They donated $100, and I want to say it was Tim Sherman because I thought we were gonna name the porta potty like
That's
something
right.
to do with Tim Sherman, but it never came to fruition.
I think, wasn't that to do with Andrea Michaud said that when she came to Edmonton, he was the one that, and he gave her a mini with a smiley face on it, and we were going to get a smiley face on the porta potty.
Porta
Right.
potty. We're doing it this year.
I think that was something where that came from, yeah.
Well,
We'll
so
do it this year.
you've shown us too, yes, how quickly, like, and that's something people I don't think knew before we started talking about it. And we did it in maybe the roundabout way, but we went through and got to everything and said, yeah, okay, this is how much money everybody paid. This is what came in, and it was gone immediately.
Mm-hmm.
But we also showed how strong our community is. And as you said, is that support from all of those people and all those groups that are interested in growing disc golf. That's the only way your tournament happens. Otherwise, Kristin's taking her vacation money this year, and instead of going on vacation, she's putting on a tournament. And I know Kristin would do that, but I don't know that everybody out there feels the same way or feels that passionately about it. So I think we're seeing both. We're seeing that there's high costs, and we're seeing that there's a lot of great people out there too.
Yeah.
One thing that I'm kind of drawing from this,
Mm-hmm.
in Brock's example, that Lloyd Park is over $1,000 a day,
Yeah.
and you're charging the money that we worked out was $800. Without sponsorship, Lloyd Park is not hosting a one-day women's event because it just can't happen because of the high cost.
No.
You're getting it from Edgar because you get that one event free. But if you have to take out a course rental, I don't know where that money comes from.
Well, the pass-through fee.
Takes us all the way back around to the beginning.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well,
that's what the pass-through fee was created for, is that all of a sudden it's like the TDs are saying, like, we don't have enough money. We have to give it all back to the players. So we have a fraction of like little pennies to pinch to do all of this. So that's why the PDGA implemented the pass-through fee, so that, if you're thinking about playing a tournament this year and you see that there's a green fee and it's like $20, you could ask the TD, what is the green fee? I see is $20. I'm not questioning it. I'm just wondering, like, was it a high cost to rent the facility, or, I don't know. I don't know how you approach that with the TD, that you got to make sure you're not like accusing them. Right.
Right.
I just think about probably those golf courses for nationals. I'm sure we had to pay to be there.
Oh yeah, there's a fair amount through, and we talked about that in one of our episodes there. And what Daryl and I had said is that you've got 4 private courses that are giving up their course for a whole weekend where they would normally charge out for people to come, so they wouldn't make any of that income that weekend. They're a private course. That's how they actually afford to do all their renovations.
Yep.
And on top of that, probably for the whole week, because they're making it accessible at no charge for practice rounds as well. So when we were looking at those pass-through fees, I'm like, I don't really have a problem with it. That sounds like that's probably just helping them be even for the weekend, and it's probably not even doing that.
Yeah.
So Brock just said in the chat, pass-through fees at nationals is $100 for this exact reason. I didn't read it. Like, is he referring to upcoming nationals?
Yeah,
yes,
2025
for the 4 courses that are there.
So you guys paid
$200.
So $100 was your entry fee.
Yeah.
No, 200. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
Is
go
that
ahead.
right?
100
right. Entry and then 100 pass through.
Right.
And then whatever, like little GST and PayPal fees and whatever.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
So here's a question for you then. I think that's totally reasonable. Do you feel so then the player pack that you should be owed, according to the PDGA rules, is like an $80 value?
Right.
Would you still go play? What if nationals only cost $60 to enter and your player pack was only going to be a $50 value? They still charge the $100 pass-through fee, and now you're only paying $160 instead of $200. Does that affect your desire to go play? Like, I also feel like tournaments are very expensive. They're very cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for Daryl and I think maybe we are in a reasonable position too, because we're at a point in our lives where we are a little bit older, and that these fees, where someone who's maybe just starting out and getting in the sport and maybe, still single, still figuring things out, maybe that expense is quite high, and that expense still means something to me. I still have to spend that money, but I'm okay to spend that money. I have that income available to spend. But I think when we talk about how that breaks out, I'm not going to the tournament for the players pack. I'm going to the tournament for the experience. And even just being in disc golf for the past 2 years and playing 12 or 16 or however many tournaments I've played, I've got more discs on my shelf than I need, plus all the ones I've bought and everything else that I've done. So I want a great experience. If I'm going to go and if I'm going to have fun and I'm going to get to see the pros and I'm going to get to interact and I'm going to do karaoke or I'm going to do this and I'm going to do all of these different things that are part of it, that's what I feel I've paid for when I went to the tournament.
120%, Jeremy. And I so resonate with you. And I think what I'm getting at is that if we are saying we're okay and we're accepting of this pass-through fee of $100, and currently it's not transparent, you're just assuming that $100, they're telling you it's going to the cost of the courses, and we believe them. And I believe that, of course, because of what we've talked about the last half an hour. Then why do we need, and if the player pack is sort of like, yeah, it's nice, but it's not the end of the world, why not just charge whatever you want to charge for the tournament that it's going to cost you to run it, like $100 pass-through fee.
Yeah.
And then your entry fee is like a part of it, or another $20, and then just have an option to buy a player pack at registration if you want, and it's optional.
Yeah. Well, that's a thing. Sorry, can I go one more time?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I have one more idea with that. Here's how you could litmus test the disc golf community with it. Is if you took all of that away, you said there is no requirements. I don't need to tell you how much it's costing me or anything else. But I'm going to say, okay, disc golf group, I'm putting on a tournament. It's $200, and I'm going to tell you ahead of time what you're going to get for a player pack. I've got a granola bar for you, and my payouts for the pros are going to be $5 per person, but it's $200 to enter. Are you going to register for that tournament? Probably not. We're going to find out not many people are going to register for that tournament, but you're going to eventually find that happy level where people are fine. So now it's like, you know what? I'm going to give you 2 discs, and I'm going to give you a hat. That's your players pack, and I'm going to take $50 of that $200 and put it into the pro purse. And then all of a sudden you get all these AMs, maybe not as many pros. So you're going to find that balance, and eventually it will settle itself. Because if you think it's a bad deal, you're not going to register for the tournament unless there is such a great experience you don't even care, right? Like, they will settle themselves. If you're bringing me out to my local Dink and Dunk and trying to charge me $200 for the weekend and not giving me anything for it, I'm probably not going to register for your tournament, right? But if you're taking me to the most high caliber course I've ever played with the best experience, volunteers there, all of these great things, I'll pay that money, and I probably won't think twice because I was paying for that experience. I don't know. That's my thought.
There's two things I want to say.
Where'd Kristin go?
She's still here.
Okay.
I'm here.
She's right
I'm
there.
here. I'm here, and I'm nodding. Yeah. I'm here. I'm with you.
I forget what one of them was, but one point I wanted to say, and maybe you want to talk a little bit more about it because it was your idea, and it kind of comes back to the whole PDGA, having a breakdown of, like, making their fees and rules more transparent. One thing that you had said is, let's say for a C tier, your prize pack that you have to give away, the PDGA limits it and says
your minimum
for a C tier, your minimum that you have to give is, let's just say, a disc.
Okay.
So that's what your prize pack is. So it doesn't matter what event you're going to. It's a C tier, you're getting a disc. If it's a B tier, let's say you get a jersey and a disc. Or what, I don't, obviously these levels might vary, and then an A tier, your minimum that you've got to give is a disc, a jersey, and
a hat
or whatever. So from a player's point of view, you can't compare one event to another event, because that's what I think we've seen that have been discussed on Disc Golf Scene and Reddit and wherever else, that people didn't feel like they got that value for their money. But if they had a flat fee of what they were going to get from that players pack, there wouldn't be any discretion.
Yeah, there's an expectation there that's already been preset, and if you get more than that, then you're happy. But then you can then decide, is this dollar value of this tournament, knowing ahead of time that this is what I'm getting,
right?
Is it worth it to me? And like, think about Daryl for an example. Is he throws exclusively Innova right now? So unless it's a collector's disc from another manufacturer, him getting a disc, he's not going to throw it. Right? Like, it could be a giveaway for the podcast. It could be to help someone else. Maybe he could resell it or something, but it doesn't mean anything to him. So now all of a sudden you're trying to figure out a gift or not a gift, but a player's pack item that applies to everybody. So,
I mean, well, that's fair. I mean, I wouldn't expect, just because I've chosen to throw Innova, purely on my own.
It's not personally sponsored by yourself, right?
I'm not going to go to a Prodigy sponsored event because I'm like, oh, well, I'm only going to get a Prodigy disc. I won't go. Like, to me, that...
Well, and we just talked about with Spring Runoff. We support the TDs. We support the event. Prodigy is that one, and we're glad for them to sponsor it. Just because you don't throw it, that would never stop you from going. You'll find another purpose for that disc.
I might put this question out on Instagram tomorrow, because it's an interesting question. How many people, because I know we're at this point now, maybe I say we're at this point, we've done it for 2 years. we've been to events, we've collected, we've bought our discs, we've bought discs, we've tried them, we've taken them out of our bag, we've got stacks of discs. How many people are going to events for players packs?
That's their main reason.
I mean, it's got to be a low amount, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can't see people.
I think this is the predicament with swag in general.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say something that's maybe a little controversial because I know.
We got a hot take?
I know that like player pack is really important to player experience. And Carrie talked about that in her post, and the CWE talks about that. Like the player pack, and when push comes to shove, if people don't like the player pack, we do hear about it. Mm-hmm. So even if someone says like, "Oh, I'm not going for the player pack," you hear about it if they are not happy with it. So it feels that the player pack is important to the player experience, is how it feels.
Right.
I think swag. I mean, the player pack is all useful. Like it's discs. We want discs. Like, we want discs. But at the end of the day, it's swag. And I think swag is like probably problematic in a lot of ways, not just in the disc golf world. Like,
mm-hmm.
It's just stuff we all get.
Yeah.
Just more stuff is what you're saying. Hey, is that?
Yeah. I mean, but for so many folks, and I say that, I think this is why it's a little bit controversial, is that I just personally do not have a very big attachment with swag of any kind.
Right.
I don't. Well, actually, maybe I'm taking it back because I'm like, maybe quality swag. Like my backpack that I still use today is a paratrooper, dynamic disc paratrooper. I've been using it for 4 years. It was the player pack at 2021 at Falcons Flight.
Yeah. Well, and I found too
I was stoked.
Yeah.
I was stoked to get it, and I'm still using it 4 years later. That said, the majority of people were not stoked. They were like, I already have a bag. I'm just going to sell this.
Yeah.
Well, and that's funny you say that because it's very particular to people, because I went to the Limber Open and I got the hooded jersey with the long sleeves and I love it. It's like one of my favorite feeling jerseys, but other people had said, "Oh, I hate this hood. I don't know why they put a hood on this thing," or something else. Yeah. So, one of the other ones that I went to was it was Hidden Gem a couple years ago. What they did with the player pack was they gave like a $25 or a $30 gift card for Wildman, and Wildman was set up there, and I was like, you have done it right in that specific event for that, because now I've got any disc I want, and if I don't want a disc and I want a grabber, I can get a grabber. If I want this, if I want that, if I want to spend more money, I can spend more money and get a discount off. If I just want to spend this money, I can. Like, to me, that was a great way of doing it, and on top of that, it supported Wildman. So now we're bringing it full circle, right? Yeah. So
yes, and we're supporting Wildman directly with that purchase, which is great. I would say I agree, and I think that is a great way to do it because it's so specific. So let people pick their player pack with that gift certificate as part of their player pack. That's such a good way. But I think us as TDs, like when we're thinking about our costs, like so many big events, because they're buying direct from manufacturers, because they have these agreements, they're able to get their player pack cost much lower. And then, but retail value, it's like covering the cost. So that's why the player packs seem so awesome and you get so much stuff, because they're not paying that much.
Yeah.
If my player pack is a gift certificate to Wildman, which it has been at Hidden Gem when I hosted Hidden Gem as well, like I want to pay Wildman for that full dollar amount.
Now I would challenge you on that one. I think that's where there is
Wildman should offer the discount. I
think what it is that Wildman's out to make some money as a business for sure. And I would say, we can go at any dollar value you want, but let's say he's going to offer $25 gift cards, but he's going to be there. And if I'm there, I'm going to buy a disc. I might buy 2 discs. So I spend $25 plus I spend another $25 out of my pocket. He got $50 that if he wasn't there and I didn't have that gift card, I wasn't going to spend that day. maybe down the road I would have. So there is something that's of a value to him. So in that case there, I don't think you need to recoup him the $25 because he needs to take that risk as a business, and not just Wildman, any business, to say that, okay, I'm going to give that to you at $15, but you get to give it out at $25. That's giving you that $10 margin. So you have $10 more for your tournament. And then I'm going to hope that I'm going to get enough extra sales out of this to recoup those $10 I gave, right? Yeah. That's that whole support. So
120%, Jeremy, 120%. But I don't think that is sustainable enough for our small retailers in Alberta long term.
So then that turns into $5 or something difference or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I absolutely agree with that concept, and I totally understand it. And that's like, it's like business 101, and I hear you, but I just think that, like, I mean, like, having talked to these guys, and I mean, maybe I need to listen to the episode with Brendan, and maybe I'm way off base. I'm not a disc seller. Right. I just think that their costs are like high. And I know, like, for them buying from the manufacturers and customs and shipping and everything else, like, they are like barely getting by, / our retailers in Alberta are closing their doors. So I just think, like, I don't know that is like I love that for the player pack too. I do. But I just think, like, we can't expect them to always offer us a discount.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fair.
That's
good points.
Well, I think we've done a great job at getting through this. Now, is there anything, Kristin?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, did we cover everything? Did you make some points that you wanted to make? Did you open up people's eyes to stop complaining about the fees or the tournament entry thing? Not complaining in a bad way, but I mean...
Or complain about your player pack when you don't realize how much more is behind that. Yeah.
Because I know... Probably 99% of our listeners wouldn't have known all those hidden fees. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't have known that PDGA takes so much money right out of, even before the tournament has even been listed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think we have talked about even more than I could have imagined that we would talk about tonight, because you guys do have such strong, ways of looking at it that I really resonated with a lot of what you guys said. And I certainly hope that I didn't just come across as feeling like, hey, everyone, listen up. It's expensive. But at the same time, hey, everyone, listen up. But there's money involved.
Yeah. And even when we talk about it, I would never say that I know it all. I'm just saying from the point of view where I'm at. And if someone educates me different, then I'm open to that and to learning to it. But I do, from where I know and what I have as my knowledge base, that's just the way I approach it.
I don't know if it's a hot take, but I have a thing. For most people, and I'm going to ask you, Kristin, and you, Jeremy, when you register for a tournament and it's an $80 tournament, you pay your $80, do you give a second thought where that $80 has gone?
I have not yet.
Do you look at the amenity fee? Do you see how much it is? Take Nationals. It was $200.
I was going to Nationals is what it was.
Did you just think it was $200? You pay your thing. You know you're going to get an AM pack out of it, and you're going to get to play 3 or 4 awesome courses.
Yeah, and I might go and I might meet Thomas Gilbert, and I might meet Gannon Burr, and I might meet Rebecca Dawn.
Do you ever analyze how much you're paying and what you're getting out of it? Like, does that even come into your consideration? Because I know it doesn't for me. When I sign up, I've already made up my mind I'm going.
You've decided, can you spend that money?
Right.
Do you have that money available to spend? And do you think it's going to be worth it?
It's that much to play the event. That's what I'm paying. Mm-hmm. Whether it's actually a $20 value and the $60 has gone as a pass-through fee, or whether it's $70 and they've taken $10, like, that doesn't even come into I don't have that as a consideration. Maybe I should, but to me, I'm paying for the event. I'm going to the event.
Yeah, you either have that money available to spend or you don't.
Right.
And you're willing to spend it because you feel that the value you're going to get back.
And maybe that's just from a player's point of view. You've TD'd events, so you know the flip side of the coin.
Yeah.
Kristin.
Yeah. No, I'm here with you. It's funny, when I used to race triathlon, I never thought never thought about it at all. I just wanted to run
To race
races.
to be in the race.
And yeah, if a half marathon was $85, I already had it on my training schedule.
Right.
Like all my friends were doing it. Like I did not give two thoughts to it. I didn't get 80% back. You get a t-shirt and a medal. And I understood
an orange slice.
You got a Cliff Bar.
And I understood like there are costs to road closures. There are costs to all of these participant medals. There are costs to, if it was an Ironman, the business that is being run. I never questioned it. When I register for a tournament, I also don't question it. I agree with you. I'm like, when I registered for spring runoff, I can't even tell you how much it cost. I'm already registered. I don't know how much it cost.
Right.
Because it really, if it was going to cost $100 or $140, I was like, I want to go. I'm going to register, and that doesn't really make a big difference. But I would say sometimes I do give it a second thought lately, because I feel like the cost of living is really, it's not going anywhere anytime soon. And I just think like, I don't need the event to, give me a huge player pack if I was playing or if for pro, like that, I think about that money you think about that money in terms of the money you could win. Because that money, it's the same for pro. It's just a certain percentage that has to go into the pro pool.
Right.
So you think about that money in terms of money that I'm going to win, and like, maybe it's because I don't win very much. Like, so I don't think like I do it regardless of the cost, but and I think maybe it's just the last year of like the way things are going and the cost of living is like, man, I look at the registration for the A tier and I'm like, ooh, like $150, like that fucking hurts.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And what, like, it needs to be a certain amount because we have all these expectations around what these big events need to be. I just think like I would go play spring runoff and I would pay $50 and another $20 of amenity fees. And if the player pack, instead of having to be $80, only had to be, or 80%, maybe it only had to be 50% back to me, I'd be happier to pay less and get less.
Right.
I'd be happier to pay less and get less.
Yeah, and there might be I think there's probably a lot of people who feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what we should go ahead.
Well, I think that is really the way of growth of the sport ultimately.
Yeah.
Because it's a numbers game right now that there's just like not enough people to sustain business surrounding the sport, I don't feel. And so like it's just still so niche. So in order for people to come out and play events, they have to be affordable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I'd like to do, if we're all good with this, is what I'd like to do at this point is I want to see if either Kristin or Daryl was going to put on a fictitious chain out tournament and they were going to play a game of Disc Golf Jeopardy where all of the funds they won were going to go to put that tournament on. What's going to actually make it to that tournament? Are you good with that? Are you good if we keep going? Or is there anything you wanted to cap it off with? Yeah, let's do it.
No.
All right, Daryl, why don't we do that? That's an awesome conversation. I think we did,
yeah.
But I think we could go on for another hour about it, right?
Yeah,
Easy.
exactly.
We could talk till 1 a.m. about it. I'm glad you're cutting us off.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So this is your first time on here. Daryl thinks he's lost twice. I know he's lost once. I know he's won once, and I know he's tied once. We're going to see if he can win tonight. And he's going up against you, Kristin. It's disc golf specific. I've tried to make it something that both of you have an equal chance at. We've got Jeopardy around the basket. We have our guest, Kristin Swirles. We have our amazing co-host, Daryl. The battle's going to begin. We always allow the guest to go first, right?
Absolutely.
So the guest is going to be able to, as in you, Kristin, you're going to be able to pick a category, any dollar amount you want. We're going to ask you that question or give you that answer. And if you provide us with the question correctly, you'll win the money. the fictitious chain out bucks.
Yeah.
If you don't get it right, then Daryl gets a chance to guess and steal it. And then after that, it switches to Daryl. So it's always one, no one takes it and runs with it. It's always one person picks a question, then the next person. Yep. And when we get to the end, we got Final Jeopardy as well.
There we go.
Yeah,
Should we
that's
get
my
started?
longest-winded explanation
I know.
ever.
That's okay. That's good.
Okay.
Should we get on with the subjects?
Let's see what the
topics.
categories are.
Categories, that's the word I was looking for.
So the categories will be Tundra Toss for winners.
Oh.
Canadian Pros Discs.
Okay.
Famous Course Synonyms.
Okay, that's a good one.
Alberta Disc Golfer Anagrams.
Oh, I like it.
And then Edmonton Disc Golf Courses.
There's 5.
There's more than 5.
Okay.
All right. So, Kristin, which category and which dollar value would you like to start with?
I got to play defense here against Daryl and think he's going to be really good at Edmonton Disc Golf Courses and maybe Canadian Pros Discs. I'm going to take Tundra Toss winners for 400.
For 400, okay.
I'm already regretting my choice. I don't know all the winners.
We're looking for the MP40 winner.
Oh, Matt Lysak. Who's
Yes,
Matt Lysak?
That would be correct. There
Oh,
is
look at that
Mr.
photo.
Matt Lysak.
Where did you get that photo?
That's his LinkedIn photo.
That's awesome.
So there we go. Daryl, it is now your turn. Kristin's on the board with $400. Where would you like to go?
Well, I normally stay in the same category as you know what? I'm going to go off script. I like AB Disc Golfer Anagrams for 400, please.
AB Disc Golfer Anagrams for 400. Nozzle Robe Rose.
Oh, good old Nozzle Robe Bros. That could be what is Zoe Lorenz Bozer?
That is correct. That would be $400 for you.
What?
So what that was I used an anagram maker.
Yeah.
And I took names of our Alberta disc golfers that we all know.
That's awesome.
Until I found ones that I liked where it was actually words and not just
random letters.
Yeah. So
okay,
nice.
back to you, Kristin.
How did you get that, Daryl? That's so good. Okay, I'm going Edmonton Disc Golf Courses for 100.
Edmonton Disc Golf Courses for 100. 6 holes, a fun, family-friendly course.
Oh, what is the Hills at Charlesworth?
That is correct. There you are, the Hills. So you're at $500 now, ahead of Daryl by 100 chain out bucks. Daryl, what would you like to do?
Let's go AB Disc Golfer Anagrams for 300.
AB Disc Golfer Anagrams for 300. Bones Charisma.
That's awesome.
God.
That would be who is Amber Chason.
That is correct.
I had no clue.
Are you seeing that there is a little bit of a clue in my answers? You're seeing it.
No.
Well, I think I'm seeing it. I don't know if you think that's the clue.
Well, there's a little bit of a hint in the names, right? Because names have a certain letter that starts...
Yeah,
a capital letter. So there's always a couple capital letters in there. So hopefully that helps because I didn't want it to be too difficult where it was like, oh my gosh, I can't tell at all. So
Jeremy's always so nice.
All right, Kristin, this goes back to you. Daryl's in the lead with 700 chain out bucks to your 500.
Well, I will go Edmonton Disc Golf Courses for 500.
Ooh, right to the 500 mark. 18 holes, 16 baskets, camouflage tee pads.
What?
That's why it's a $500 question. 18 holes, 16 baskets, camouflage tee pads.
Oh, camouflage tee pads. Still don't know, but...
What? 16 baskets? I'm getting caught up on 16 baskets. Is there a time? Is there a timer?
There is a bit of a timer. I'm giving you a moment here. Think about Edmonton.
Okay.
There is a bit of a timer here.
That's the clue.
No. The only thing is I did say Edmonton, and as Daryl knows, Edmonton is not Edmonton proper.
Oh, here we go.
Edmonton is Edmonton's surrounding area, right?
Yeah.
Well, how far surrounding area?
No, not far. I would never take anything outside of what I think is justified.
Yes.
It might not be what you think is justified, but
The 16 baskets is throwing me off as well.
well, we're going to
gonna
give
be
you
upset
5
when we don't
seconds,
get
and
there.
we're going to have to ask for a guess. So we'll go 5.
Okay, I'm going
4,
with I'll go with
3.
Niska Pasquak.
Niska Pasquak is not the answer we're looking for. Daryl,
I don't know any course that... Have I played this course?
I cannot tell you that.
Okay. Well, I can't think of any course that has 2 less baskets than we need. Every course I've played has 18 holes, 18 baskets.
Oh, how wrong we're about to be, Daryl.
Yeah. Unless 9 and 7, 9 and 8. Is it a 9 hole? No, I haven't got a clue.
So I'll give you a hint now. There is a course in the Edmonton surrounding area that has 18 holes and 16 baskets.
I know, because you put it as a question.
And then it does also have tee pads, but if you're not paying attention in the summer, they might be hard to see. Because if you were just walking through, you might not even know they were there. The answer is Kingswood Park.
Where's that?
Oh, frick. Of course.
St. Albert, that would be where you got your career win.
Well, I've never played it. I played the XL layout, so I don't know how many baskets is there. So they have 9 holes and 8 baskets?
They have 18
They
holes,
share.
but they share baskets, and they also have a couple shared.
Oh.
Do they have a shared tee pad too? I can't remember if the tee pads are shared.
Maybe.
The baskets are.
I didn't realize that.
Silly question.
All right, Daryl, go ahead. It's a $500 question.
Let's go. All right, let's go for the AB disc golf for anagrams for 500.
For 500, okay. Harbor Viaducts.
Ooh, this one could be hard.
That's why it's a $500 question.
Very true.
And yes, when people are looking at this, there's a capital B and a capital T in this Harbor Viaducts.
Sorry, can I just go back to the category? Is it Edmonton or Alberta?
It was Alberta.
Alberta?
No, it was. I think it was Edmonton.
Alberta. It's Alberta.
Is it Alberta disc golfers?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. That was the other one we already did. That wasn't the answer. That was the one we'd already
Yeah,
done. I
Jeremy's
went
trying to
to
go back, but
I was trying to go back, but I couldn't.
Oh, hang on. Do I have something? No, I don't.
We're gonna need an answer in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I'm going to say. No, I'm going to play.
Okay, and Kristin, do you have an answer for us?
No. I was.
Are you sure? You're really sure you don't have an answer for us?
Is it gonna be so embarrassing when we don't have it?
Oh, I know it.
I don't know.
All right.
It's who is Travis Bouchard?
It is Travis Bouchard.
The V was killing me. I couldn't think of the V.
All right, Kristin. With the board, just to give you an idea, on the Edmonton disc golf courses, 100 and 500 are gone. On the AB disc golf for anagrams, 300, 400, 500 are gone. And on Tundra Toss, 4 winners, 400 is gone.
I'll go Tundra Toss 4 winners for 500.
Tundra Toss 4 winners, 500. MA4.
Oh God, I did look at it. MA4 was actually pretty close.
Oh, okay.
Is it Josh Kern?
It is not.
He came second.
But yes, he did. He came second in the playoff.
Yeah, it was a playoff between 4 people. I live streamed it. I walked around following them.
Oh my God.
The only 2 people I knew was Josh Kern and Sam Western. I know Can I say his first name? Will that get me the win?
That won't get you the win, but you can say the first name.
Who is Daniel?
You are 50% correct, Daryl. The answer we are looking for is Daniel Rekwa. So there you go.
Oh,
And
sorry,
he
I
was
didn't remember your name, Daniel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was a friend of Jeremy Goche's and Matt Lyzak's, and this was his
Oh my
first,
God.
I think, big win. So, all right,
I
you
love
guys, we're
it.
currently still sitting at Daryl with $700, Kristin with
Okay.
$500. Kristin, where would you? Or that was Kristin.
Yeah.
Daryl, where would you like to go?
Let's go AB Disc Golfer anagrams for 200.
Okay. Drywall similar.
This is 200?
This is 200. Drywall similar. And we have a capital, what do we have? Capital W, we have a capital D in there. Drywall similar.
I thought I knew who it was. Who said
Yeah, I
that,
think we were thinking of the same name.
but it's not that name.
No, it's not that one.
This is a lot better than I thought it was. I told you this was going to be a good one.
You did.
This is hard.
Isn't it funny how I got the other two right away?
Yeah.
This one I'm just not seeing at all.
So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Do you have an answer?
Yes, I have an answer.
Go ahead.
Oh my goodness, how didn't I see this? Who is Daryl Williams?
Yes, that is correct. For $200, Daryl, you are on the board.
I'm drywall similar.
That's drywall similar. So
Oh
you are
my goodness.
now at $900. Kristin, it's over to you.
I got ground to make. I'll go Tundra Toss winners for 300.
All right. FA 40.
Oh, Jana Olsen.
There you go.
Who is Janet Olsen?
Yes,
Who,
that's
who is Jana Olsen?
$800. We're $100 apart. Riskiness twirl.
Riskiness twirl. I think you should have put that one as 200. Who is Kristin Swirles?
Yes, that
Swirl,
is correct.
Mine is a really recognizable one, especially
Yeah.
when it makes it twirl.
That's
Yeah.
why it was the 100, because it
100.
was hopefully if you guys started at 100, you
Yeah.
would have got the feel for them as they
Right.
were going.
Yeah.
So Daryl's at 1,000, chain out bucks, and Kristin, you're at 800.
And it's your turn.
And it's your turn to pick.
I'll go Canadian Pros discs for 100.
Oh.
Ooh, okay. Canadian Pros discs for 100. Whose disc
Chantal.
is that?
Who is Chantal Badinsky?
You are correct.
Good job.
And
Got one
Daryl,
of
where would
those.
you like to go?
Do
Do you have one of those, you said?
Oh yeah, you guys, do you?
Daryl
yeah.
does as well, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Let's go famous course synonyms for 100.
Famous course synonyms. Oak Mound.
This is just courses in general.
This
It's
is
not
a
AB.
this is a
Yeah.
this is courses around the world. This
g-
is the name of a course that we will all know
Yeah, yeah.
very well.
I'm going to say, what is Maple Hill?
That would be correct. $1,100 is where you're at now. Does that one make sense to everybody how those work?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Kristin, your turn.
I'll go Canadian Pros discs for 2.
All right, here we go. Whose disc is this one?
Who is Sophia Donica?
Yes, and we have a tie game, 1,100 chain out bucks for
Ooh.
both players.
I like those Canadian Pro discs, but I don't know if I want to. Okay, I'll go famous course synonyms for 200.
Okay, go ahead.
Chef Playground.
And again, I will only preface this is famous courses that we all will know.
Mm-hmm.
Their fame can be different reasons.
Oh my gosh.
And Daryl, I'll give you a little bit of time here, but I am going to work down the 5 seconds slowly as I move towards them.
I want to say
5, 4, 3.
I'm going to say what
Two.
is Cook Park?
No, that is 50% incorrect. Go ahead there, Kristin. Do you have a guess for this one?
What is what is Cook? There's no Cook course. Oh, what is Strathcona Wilderness Center?
No, the answer we were looking for was Baker Park down in Calgary, one of the most played courses in the country. So that puts it back to you, Kristin. What would you like to get or go for?
Pros
And if you-
discs for 300.
Okay, pros discs for 300.
Ooh.
Oh. Oh.
And this is Canadian pros discs, I think we said.
Yeah.
I thought
Well-
I got rid of that. I didn't?
It's okay. Do you recognize that one?
No. I don't. Someone who's with MVP.
Yeah, you are correct there.
But it's not Gabby's.
No. So there's not you're doing the process of elimination quite well.
Yeah. Is it? Oh yeah.
I'll pass. I'm not on a trail.
Okay.
I
And-
pass.
Well, I'm gonna say the name, but if I get it right, I'm not gonna take the points.
What I'll do is okay, don't take the points. I made a slight
Well,
mistake with this one. I
if
missed
you look,
one part.
If you look very closely, right underneath where it says MVP, I think that's the word chance.
Yes, and this would be one of Chance Dad's discs. I tried to get rid
Yeah.
of names off discs, but I must have missed this one.
You missed that one.
So
that's
it's Chance. Chance always has a science fiction and monster movie type thing to any of his ones. So okay, so we'll just have that as a pass. So then I guess can we give Kristin
can have
another choice,
Yeah,
Kristin?
go again, Kristin.
Tundra
Or-
toss winners. Tundra toss winners for 200, please.
Okay. MPO.
Gavin Beamish. Who is Gavin Beamish?
That is correct. You've taken the lead with 1,300 chain out bucks. Daryl?
Let's go famous course synonyms for 500.
For 5. You're going big time, are you? Cell phone
God.
flying saucer plaza. And I'm going to require it to be correct in all the words for this.
What?
I want to say
So again, for anyone out there, it's cell phone flying saucer plaza.
and we've all heard of these.
You've heard of this course from around the world?
Mhm.
Famous course.
Oh. Okay. Now I'm on it. I got it. But I just need time to figure out.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to give you 66% of this, Kristin.
Uh-oh.
I think it is. It's Nokia, Frisbee, Park. But I know.
All right. You were very close, but that is 33% incorrect.
33% incorrect.
Incorrect.
So I got 66%.
You got
of it.
66%. So go ahead there, Kristin.
Well, then it must be Nokia Frisbee.
I just couldn't get the plaza.
Nokia Frisbee Center?
No, the answer we were looking for is Nokia Disc Golf Park. Now, obviously, the golf wasn't in there. I'm realizing that now. So I apologize, but the flying saucer was a disc. A disc is like a flying saucer, right?
Yeah, that's fair. We should have known it.
All right, and especially with having Park at the
You're a lot
end
easier on Jeremy than I am.
there. Okay, that's why he's doing the next one, Kristen. Okay, Daryl, what would you like? Or you pick that one?
I picked that one.
Kristen,
too.
what would you like to pick this time? We still have 100 for Tundra Toss winners. We have 400, 500 for pros discs, 300 and 400 for famous course synonyms, and 200 to 400 for Edmonton disc golf courses.
Okay, I better do Canadian Pros discs for 400.
All right.
Shit, I don't know this one either.
This one I did better. I got rid of the name.
You did.
Is this who is Karen Martell?
That is correct. You
Nice.
stole that out of Daryl's hands. And you are now
That
at
was awesome.
1,700 chain out bucks to Daryl's 1,100.
I can't play nice anymore. I got to go Canadian Pros disc for 500.
All right.
Oh, he's gonna steal the cake.
Oh, I don't know.
This one I erased a name.
I keep forgetting the top. It's Canadian Pros, right?
Canadian.
Yeah. Well, it's a Discmania player with a rainbow foil. There's only one Canadian disc. Well, no, two Canadian Discmania players I can think of. But I don't think they had discs, so. I am going to say. Oh, it's a toss up between. All right, I'm going to say, who is Miguel Alvarado?
That would be incorrect. Kristen, it's over to you. This beautiful disc from Discmania.
I don't know. Who is I don't know. I don't know. I have to pass.
The answer
second
we're
guess.
looking for, Daryl, what was your second guess?
Who is Max Rajitnik?
Yes, and if you look, I left his autograph underneath the crown there
Oh, that
for
is
you,
Max?
just in case.
I didn't realize
And-
Max had a disc.
Max, that is an older disc, but Max had a disc. He did have a disc. I didn't say they were
That would be
today's disc.
They were in 2025.
Not everyone has their 2025 discs out, do they?
Oh no.
Okay. Let's go famous course synonyms.
No,
for
no,
400.
you were the one who said that you were going to not play nice anymore. Kristen, it's your turn.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Ooh. Okay, I'm gonna go Edmonton disc golf course for whatever we need. 200?
200, 300, or
200.
400? Okay,
200.
200?
No, 200's gone.
No, I just put the X on it.
Oh, you did? Okay.
OG, Edmonton's premier disc golf destination.
What is Rundle Park?
You are correct. That takes you up to 1,900 chain out bucks, and that statement was taken right off of UDisc. Not the OG part. I added that.
Famous course synonyms for 400.
Famous course synonyms for 400. Oh my goodness. Fashion hollow horned mammal.
Oh,
I love that your guys' brains are just like working at overtime to try and figure these out. I don't think any of the ones that you've seen the answer to yet, you were like, oh, I don't know how you got there. Is that true?
I don't think Alex Trebek talks as much when people are trying to think.
But I think that's because it's dead radio isn't very good.
Fashion hollow horned mammal.
that's why Jeopardy has music.
Yes,
Yeah, right?
exactly.
No, I haven't. No, I honestly can't even think of. I'm gonna pass.
I have to pass too, even though I know when I see it, I'm going to be mad. I know what it is.
All
but I have
right.
to pass.
The
I don't know what it
answer
is.
we were looking for was, what is hote? Goat. Hote is fashion, and a hollow horned mammal would be a goat.
Oh, a goat's horn is hollow.
Well, there we go. We're educating as well.
Yeah, I
All
did
right.
not know that.
That's
Was the hollow part what you were really focused on with the horned mammal?
Well, no, I thought it was three separate words. I thought it was fashion, another word for a hollow,
Oh, you were
and a
looking
horned
at the
mammal.
anagrams is what you were thinking. I had to find things
Yes.
that were a synonym for it.
Yeah.
But also, too, that was it, Kristin. You're right. If it had said solid horned mammal, Daryl
No.
would have had it.
Like I said, I knew the horned mammal was one part.
Yes, but the hollow. Yes,
didn't-
fair enough. That's fair. Yeah.
Then hollow, I thought it was a
like
three-word.
Sleepy Hollow or something like that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, and
You
Kristin,
just
we
wait
are
until I
down
do
to
it.
4 questions left. There is $300 for famous course synonyms, and then there is $300 and $400 for Edmonton disc golf courses, and $100 for the Tundra Toss winners.
400 for Edmonton disc golf courses.
400. Okay. Water Tower, Goose Meadow.
Is it Niskapasquak?
Yes, it is. Niskapasquak is the one we're looking for.
I guess, is it Niskapasquak is a question.
Uh-oh, Daryl's getting a little worried here as you are
No.
now 23.
What is Niskapasquak?
You are correct.
You got it.
All right, Daryl, where would you like to go? You got 2 300s and a 100.
300 famous course synonyms. I'm going to get one of these.
All
I
right.
got
Predator's Bluff.
Raptor's Knoll.
That is
What is Raptor's Knoll?
That is correct. That's $1,400. Back to you, Kristin. You have 2 choices. You can take the Tundra Toss winners for 100, or you can take the Edmonton disc golf courses for 300.
And the scores are 1,400 for me, 2,300 for you.
Sweet chain out bucks
I'm
for
in
you.
good shape. Well, I'll
You
take
are.
Edmonton disc golf courses.
For 300, okay. Brand new, Briggsy, Sam Western, Mike Piska.
What is Dog Rump Park?
Yes, Dog Rump Creek Disc Golf. Exactly what I heard.
Free.
I would have said Dog Rump Park.
All right, so you're at $2,600. Daryl, do you want to wrap us up and take that last $100? Who was our FPO winner?
Who is Zoe Lorenz Bozer?
That is correct. So right now, as we get ready for Final Jeopardy, we have 2,600 chain out bucks for Kristin, 1,500 for Daryl. Let's take a look at what the Final Jeopardy category is. The Final Jeopardy category is Canadian Disc Golf History. So what we're going to do, Kristin, is Daryl has his 1,500 sweet bucks. He doesn't want to lose. He's going to write down on my computer how much he's betting. Daryl, how much are you going to bet for this one?
Should I write down on my phone and then show you?
You'll just be able to tell me. So go ahead and let me know what your number is now. Daryl has written
I've
his
already
down.
wrote my number down, so
you can just
that's
tell
not
me
gonna
out loud.
change.
Well, so he probably wagered 1,500, and then if he gets it, he'll be at 3,000. So I should wager enough to get me over 3,000. So
Just thinking this through.
Yeah.
I'll wager. And what am I at? 2,400?
2,600. Remember, whatever you win, you're going to be able to make your fictitious disc golf tournament with. So
So I better wager. I'll wager. Oh, I don't want to go below 15. Okay, I'll wager $800.
$800. Okay, can we see the answer, I guess?
The question.
The question, yes.
The answer.
This disc golf company was founded in 1978 in London, Ontario by Jim Kenner and Gail McCall. So now this is where the do happens, and you just think of your answer there, Kristin. Daryl will write down his answer once he's got it, and then you can tell me yours, and I will do the reveals. Or shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am probably not going to get this.
That's why I'm using this format to educate as much as test your knowledge base as well. And another little known fact about Chain Out host Jeremy was he was born in London, Ontario.
Not in 1978, though.
I was born 1 year earlier, ish.
19-ish. 1977 and a half.
It's kind of one of those things too, and I don't want to ever reveal that I was born in the 1900s because now that makes us the elderly,
Well,
Daryl.
I'm the oldest one here because I was born in 1976.
A lot of the cool kids now are all born in the 2000s.
Yeah, when Noah said that he was born in 1990 or
Wasn't born in 1990.
wasn't born in
yeah.
1990s when the people first started playing.
All right, I'm going
All right.
to need an answer from you. You just have to
Yeah.
pick a disc golf company that was founded in.
Noah was probably born after 2000.
I know this is wrong.
That's okay. Mine's going to be wrong too.
Okay, and so why don't we start by revealing your answer, Kristin? What disc golf company did you choose?
I am going to go with I don't know.
Riveting.
I know it's not very. I'm struggling to come up with the words. I think because it's so late at night.
I will just say, you said that I was at 15, and if I wagered 15, I went to 3,000.
Yeah.
You wagered 800, and you had 26. So if you lose your 800 and I get it wrong, right,
There is going to be a swapping.
I will. Yeah.
So what is your...
Oh, I wagered too much is what you're telling.
If you lose your 800, you drop down to.
Well, no, that's only... No. That would have happened anyways, Kristin. You're fine if you both get it wrong.
If we both get it wrong, that's
but if
fine. 'Cause I
Daryl
lose
has it
money.
right. Yeah.
But if I get it right and you get
He's
it wrong.
just trying to play head games. So as soon as you're ready, we'll take your
Oh,
answer.
but even if I only wagered $1, that was going to happen, Daryl.
Well, that's true.
Yes, that's
Wait,
true.
If I wagered all 1,500.
And if she had wagered $1, she would only had $2,601 if she got it right for her tournament.
And I would have got
is it
15.
top? Is it
$3,000.
top? What's the company that's got top in the name?
Yeah, that's the one.
Fuck. It's too late at night. I'll say Top Golf. Golf.
Top Golf. Okay.
Well, can I say something?
Yes.
I know my answer is wrong, but now you've said that, I can say what I think it is now based on her answer, right?
Sure.
I think what you're trying to think of was Top Link.
Well, what I'm going to tell you is you are both incorrect before we go there. The answer is, let's do the reveal. Discraft.
Really?
Discraft, the sponsors of Paul Macbeth,
Yeah.
James Conrad.
They were
Not
founded
James
in Canada?
Conrad, sorry. Paul Ulibarri. Yep, they were founded in Canada in 1978. And I think
There
part
you
of
go.
it was, if you want a little bit more education, was I believe Jim Kenner was dodging the draft at the time and did not want to go to war for the U.S., so he came up to Canada.
Really?
And he moved to London, and then he... now, that part could be totally fictitious, but that's what I
I thought you
understand.
were educating.
So let's take a look, and we'll see what was bet. Kristin, you bet $800, which will bring you down to $1,800.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Daryl, you bet $1,499, which will bring you down to $1, making Kristin Swirles the winner with a sweet $1,800 chain out bucks. What's your tournament going to look like now? Is it going to be a good one?
Oh yeah, that's more than last year. That's so great.
Great. Good.
I'm
Good
happy to take one down for Team Guest.
Yes, Team Guest is now definitely in the
Oh.
lead, maybe by 3-1,
Yeah.
but at least by 2-1.
Can we go back to playing fantasy disc
Family
golf?
Feud?
No, fantasy disc golf.
Oh,
I
yes.
did quite well at that.
There you go.
I will
Well-
say we're doing our draft for Fantasy League coming up this week before the season starts on the weekend. And I pushed really hard to try to get more participants in our league because I wanted to invite you guys. And the boys were really exclusive. They're like, no, we can't have any more people. It'll get too watered down. So I tried.
Oh, well, we
That's fair.
appreciate that.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. And I guess now that we've had this amazing conversation, this amazing game,
And you know what? Those boys are not invited to fantasy golf.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
So we want to give you the floor one more time, Kristin. Is there anything else you want to throw out there before we kind of wrap this one up?
No, I'm excited to go back and listen to our conversation again because I feel like you guys said so much stuff that really resonated with me that I hadn't thought about. So just thank you both. And I want to go back and listen to Brendan's Around the Basket too. So no, I'm just looking forward to doing.
You mean you want to go back and listen to all the episodes that are available on YouTube for anyone to watch?
Starting with Brendan's Around the Basket.
Starting with Brendan's episode Around the Basket. Yes.
Yeah.
No, but I have some good listening that I want to do this weekend. I think it's awesome to talk and talk and talk, and I'm such a talker, and I thank you guys for having me on. But now I get to say what I've said, and now I get to listen. So I'm excited.
There you go.
Well, and we'll tell you
Awesome.
something about the way we speak. We speak clearly enough most times that you can put us on about 1.5 and you can get through it just that much quicker.
Jeremy knows from experience.
From my own experience. So, so that's fantastic. Daryl, how do we finish this one?
We just want to say... Oh, yeah, I guess we don't need to say any of that. Can you remember what 3 discs you picked for your Desert Island disc, Kristin?
Well, definitely my Nomad and probably the Jet because I was loving my Jet at the time. I still am.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember my.
I think it was.
I don't remember my third one.
Warship?
Maybe at the time, yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd pick Warship anymore, but definitely Jet and Nomad.
Right. Well, let's say we went to hole 13. Jeremy's just looking it up. Yeah.
Nomad, Warship, and Streamline Jet. Your knowledge and memory are amazing, the two of you.
Yeah. Well, let's say you took your Nomad, and just because we're locals, let's say we went to
the 9-hole, 6-hole, family fun friendly disc golf course.
Well, we can't go to that one because that one. No, let's just stick to Rundle.
All right, we'll stick to Rundle
because there was quite a few. There was an ace run during Tundra Toss. I believe it was Tyler Fisher chained out on hole 5.
Whoa.
He took. Let's say we all had Nomads because I have a Nomad.
Yeah.
I have an R2 Nomad.
I've seen a Nomad.
You've seen a Nomad. Kristin's got her Nomads, plural.
Yeah.
Let's say we went to hole 5. We're gonna ace run it because it's right there.
Yeah.
It's where I got my first ace. We would take that Nomad.
Yes.
9 times out of 10, it would happen to us, but it would never happen to Kristin.
What would never happen to Kristin if she threw it at that basket?
Do you know what would never happen, Kristin?
It would never change
out! Thanks for joining, Kristin.
Thank you.